Hello and welcome. This is Gray Hughes of Gray Hughes Investigates on YouTube. This channel evaluates all aspects of true crime. As you are aware, videos and live streams in this genre often discuss elements of crime that may be disturbing to some viewers. If necessary, take the precautions needed to avoid these feelings. Factual information related to cases is the key to fostering rational true crime discussions. Fortunately, you will find that here. Please hit the like button only once, share the video, and subscribe if you like my content. Thank you very much for watching.
That was weird looking at this grayed out audio source. Don't know what that means, but it was working. Thank you, Cheryl Bullock up there. Yeah, it's weird. It doesn't show up on in the stats if you do it before the show. I think super chats show up, but not the gifted memberships for some reason. Has anybody seen Bruce Holdaway? I haven't seen him for like weeks or something. You guys, have you seen him anywhere? Freaks. Yeah. Well, Corey Richens was found guilty. Wow, what a shock. Yeah, it's just, what's amazing is I think there's a fad now is to try to figure out a way to make a killer innocent. Like with all the people who watch, they're more intrigued. They always watch the defense attorneys like it's interesting. Who cares what, it's like the defense attorneys, all they really care about is trying to figure out a way to make somebody guilty innocent. Okay? It's ridiculous. There's nothing interesting. I just don't understand the infatuation with watching them on YouTube. It's like almost the opposite of a true crime channel. They try to figure out ways to make it fake, to get make a person seem innocent. It's wild. I mean, why would you even be interested in that? That case was so obvious. I mean, the probable cause that we went over 2 years ago, there's just no out, man. I mean, it's just, she is, and people are like, I don't know, man, I'm not sure if the, and then the jury took like 5 minutes. I mean, they were just in and out, done. At least they had brains. That's good. Yeah, no, it was like, exactly. They were so guilty. I think they did a vote and found her guilty immediately when they walked back there. And then they just sort of went over things again just in case somebody, make it seem like there was a little bit of time. I bet you if in reality they could have been back in 20 minutes. You don't have to deliberate. You just take a vote right off the get-go and they go guilty. And then there's no reason then maybe they deliberated just to sort of give it the old college try, see if there's something. But no, it's not 12 Angry Men. All right, well, anyways, Megyn Kelly she's doing like a 4-part series. And I was just sort of listening to some of it. It seems like there's just so many errors that these people make. It's just wild. Then they get this supposed blood spatter expert on there. And it just, it doesn't make any sense. What's she saying? It's weird. I don't know, man. I'm not a blood spatter expert, you guys. I'm I know what I'm looking at because we've done so much of it, and I've read into it. I've got the actual book, Practical Homicide, that I look at. Things are just sometimes common sense, and these people turn it into something not. All right, so while we're playing this, if you guys want to help support the channel, that'd be great. We're just trying to keep slogging through the month here. No great days, no too bad days, and just trying to keep things rolling along. So if you have the ability to help support the channel with channel memberships, super chats, etc., that would be great. All right, here we go. I'm not going to play. There's no video with it.
Fitz, Maureen, great to see you both. Thanks for joining us. There's a lot of places we could go with this, but let's just start back at the initial crime scene. Let's say you get brought in on this case this week, and Sheriff Nano says, we finally got to the best ones, and we want your analysis of how we can go back and start over so that we can get some real clues and make sure we didn't miss anything. Where do you start, Fitz?
Well, in an ideal scenario, and I'm going to go, what I'm about to say is not casting aspersions or making anyone sound guilty, but as soon as we realized that Mrs. Guthrie was missing by force, didn't walk off on her own, I would want to completely separate all the family members and interview them separately. And again,
yeah, but we don't know that they didn't do that, right? None of us know that they didn't do that. In fact, apparently they were interested in family members at the beginning. Thanks, Wild Bill Wassman.
and I'm not saying one of them had anything to do with this directly, but indirectly, we don't know. A friend of a friend, they put some information out. And that way they could be assured from the very beginning that the story lined up with what exact time Nancy was dropped off that night, who drove her. There's been some of the anecdotes are going back and forth in terms of who was in the car that night when she was dropped off. The garage door open. Did they walk her in or not? So it would have been nice and ideal. And this is what they teach you, of course, in the police academy. Separate everyone as soon as you can. Doesn't mean they're suspects. Doesn't mean they're bad guys. But this way, there's no question there's not going to be leakage or some sort of a permeation of the particular story from one person to another. It's their own memory recalling to the investigators what happened. So that's investigative interviewing 101. And I'm not sure if that happened. Something tells me they were all sitting on a couch in someone's living room. Well, the last time we saw her was this, and they're going back and forth. And that even includes the older child. And perhaps that person would have known something. So ideally speaking, that's the first thing I would have want to have done. I hope they did that later that day, or certainly by the next day.
Yeah, I mean, they must have, because we know the last time that they saw her was when Tommaso drove her home and dropped her off. We already know that.
That division, so to speak.
I mean, I think that all happened.
That's true, Maureen, because if you walk in and just assume that everybody you're looking at is a victim, you're making a basic mistake in law enforcement, right? Shouldn't the instinct be, as soft a heart as you may have, that everyone is a suspect until you have a suspect in custody?
Yes, so much of law enforcement goes against what you would do in a normal situation as a member of the public. We have to ask real hard questions. We have to make it as comfortable as possible, and then there are times where it has to go to a totally different level where you don't care how uncomfortable someone is. However, in a situation like this, I would absolutely agree with Fitz. I would also say that if we were taking this case over today, they already gave up the crime scene so early, but my focus would have been on the house. I'm not necessarily judging them.
Well, I thought at the beginning there's a possibility it could be somebody in the family, because that's what a hired hit would be from, likely somebody in the family. Like, oh my God, would you die already, man? We want to get our inheritance or something, But, it seems like, and then it seemed like they were still looking into him, and they had the vehicle, so it was still interesting. But then they cleared him, and and then you saw the video of Nancy putting her arm around him and stuff like that. So it seemed like they didn't even think he had anything to do with it. So, I mean, maybe it's another family member somehow unassociated with those three.
At all
Or,
initially.
I mean, not, obviously they'd be associated if they're a family member, but not, it's not one of them.
Because it did look like a walk away. And there are a lot of people that walk away from their home and sprain their ankle and they're stuck in a ditch or
It didn't look like a walk away at all.
whatever.
Did anybody think it looked like a walk away at any point in time whatsoever? You see these blood droplets going on outside, and she just sort of wandered away. They already said at the beginning she couldn't walk very far.
And being 84 without her medication, she could have almost been unconscious at that time. But once they saw the blood on the front porch, she wasn't there. They searched around the area. They couldn't find her. It's time to expand. Your investigative priorities become expanding the crime scene, roping the whole thing off, doing everything you can with DNA, touch DNA, fibers, hairs, all that kind of stuff. And if the FBI ever offers to have the ERT team work your crime scene, for the love of all that's holy, just say yes.
Right.
Because most crime scene teams have 2 or 3 people on them. And crime scene work is arduous work. It's hard labor oftentimes. But when you have 25 people that you can throw at...
I mean, the FBI is 1,000 times better. I mean, they're so good at that kind of stuff. I would say, like, almost every sheriff or anybody out there that if the FBI is willing to come in, just do it. Your likelihood of solving the case go up about tenfold.
At a crime scene, and they're all specialized in some way, shape, or form. It really...
I'm not an FBI hater, okay? I'm a pro-law enforcement type a person. Yes, there are bad people everywhere, but they're generally really good people. And I always hate it when people are always skeptical of, oh, this is an inside job. This is a FBI set it up. Oh, look at that. It just makes me want to vomit, How many people think that, like, there's this cover-up thing going on with the FBI and they're doing this and this and this. It's ridiculous, you guys.
It really makes things work a lot better.
I've been dying to ask you two about the video that we uncovered of Nancy's bedroom. We aired this last week, and it was from 2013, and we found it just because we were preparing for this series. So we did a deep dive into the archives of the Today Show, and we found video for the first time of Nancy's bedroom. And I mean, you were part of that evidence response team at the FBI, Maureen, so I've been dying to get your thoughts on what we see in this video. Let's watch it.
We've already all seen it. I'm not playing it again.
Maureen, so there's so much,
This is
right?
after
And Fitz, isn't it shocking to see the inside of her bedroom where we know she would be stolen from, these years later? When we saw the tape, it was just, she's been in the same house since 1991. So I don't know if she'd redecorated since then, but there it is. It doesn't look like a particularly spacious room. Maureen, what were your thoughts when you saw it?
Well, I looked at some things that I thought would be part of a ransom note. For example, that wardrobe piece of furniture off to the left, where a gentleman would hang his sport coat for the next night, and the shoes go in the bottom. It's got a little thing, generally for like cufflinks or whatever. It's an old time, very distinctive piece of furniture that a lot of people don't necessarily have anymore. So they could have used that as something where they're like, "Whoa, this is legit," because she has this thing, and it's not something a lot of people have. Who would know she had this in her room? We would also, they could have described that very distinctive headboard, which is almost Spanish in style. And, like a lot of people, my mom never changed her bedroom furniture.
I mean, that's a decent point, that maybe the stuff that only the killer would know would be describing in detail what things look like in there. Hey, thanks, Allie Kate.
After our dad passed away. Who does? You get comfortable
No, my
with
mom
as
hasn't
we
changed a
age.
thing in her house, and I don't know how many decades. She likes it the way she likes it.
Yeah. And they're just comfortable, and it's the way. And if you were in a loving marriage, like your mom, my mom, and dad, when my dad passed away, she didn't want to change anything. She wanted it to remain the same, and it stayed the exact same
Yeah, they make a lot of errors on there.
until she sold the house. So,
Thanks, Wild Bill.
there's a lot of stuff in there that
it's
someone
gonna be a
could have
struggle
used
tonight.
nefariously in one of those ransom notes to in order to get the law the authorities to believe them.
What did you think when you saw it, Fitz?
I put my behavioral cap on upon seeing it, and just right now, Megan, is the first time I watched that video. And, a lot of celebrities out there, a lot of on-air personalities have mothers, have loved ones. But Savannah really took it to the next level in showcasing her mother. And these are very human, very emotional, and they're very moving sort of little segments she put together. And it just has me thinking, if you are, in fact, someone out there suffering from some condition like erotomania, you're basically a stalker. Again, I don't think this was ever about money. What is more valuable to Savannah, to someone like her, that you may have some sort of a fixation or obsession about? And maybe you can't get to her kids, you don't want to mess with people that young. Boy, and this mother happens to live in sort of a remote area with neighbors far away. And look how much she means to Savannah. And boy, I feel like I know her mother as well as I know Savannah from watching her.
All right, guys, any chance you guys could help support the channel tonight? My channel relies on you guys, so we need some channel memberships, the super chats, etc. We got, we're like one, I don't even know what you call it, 1/30th of the goal.
On TV every day. Let me go pay a visit and let me go do something with this. I can't say I'm locking into this theory, and this didn't happen in a vacuum. There's been emails to Savannah over the years, maybe going as far back as when Mom, did the bedroom interview. So I can't imagine that this personal connection between this personality on the air and the fondness and the connection and the closeness she had to her mother weren't interrelated. I'm not blaming Savannah for anything here. She had every right to put her mother on the air. She loved her mother. Mother loved her daughter. But could this somehow be a person or persons out there who didn't have that relationship with their own mother, wanted something with Savannah, couldn't get to Savannah or kids, so they chose her own mother as some sort of a Freudian substitute? We can really get carried away there. But I have no doubt that the person who abducted Nancy Guthrie is familiar with all these types of videos we've just seen. They may even have like a trophy reel they can play over and over again. And therefore, with Savannah not being a prime target or an available target or readily available, they go after her mom.
To me, it was one of the things that was creepy about the video in retrospect, not in the moment, was that it was a very small space between what I assume is her side of the bed. The bedside table was right there with her books on it, and the wall. Like this intruder, if he came in there and actually did grab her from her bed, as Savannah said, he had to squeeze in there, and he would have been right on top of her. He would have been right over her, and how we heard she had pretty powerful hearing aids. It just doesn't seem like that would have been an issue at all. Seems like rather close quarters, where he would have been able to get right up on her next to the bed in a rather small space.
Yeah. And it's kind of interesting, too, because he came in back here. The room, I think, is right over here. I think that's the window in Nancy's room. So you would have to make your way to there. It's pretty big inside there. I wonder if they knew exactly where her room was. So it might have taken them a minute to find her in there.
And order her out. It's so scary to think about, and not a lot of room to maneuver because she had quite a few furniture pieces in that one little corner of her bedroom. That's where we believe the crime took place, according to Savannah, and it's just.
I think I'm not really one to watch NBC too much, so.
Eerie to see it up close and personal. Don't show your mom's bedroom on TV. This is something. A lot of people would not have done it. I blame the Today Show. I've got to be honest, you guys. I've said this before, but there is pressure on you. I was there for just a year. There is pressure to show all of your intimate details. Your family, your children. they insisted they
we
really
can
wanted my
see you,
children on the
Zozo.
air.
Look
And
at-
finally, I relented, but I insisted that they blur all of their faces. Like we did a camping spot with my family,
That's some kind of like detective or something.
and I was the only one who had their children's faces
this-
blurred. I'm
this is
like,
what
do not
the-
show.
this
do
is-
not show.
This is them right here. These are the three people. See that? Like, she's the one that, the burrito lady. Thanks, April. Yeah, it's going to be hard to reach the goal here tonight, you guys. So if you guys have the ability to do channel memberships, I think we're currently at $15, so we're like literally like 1/20th now. Thanks.
Anything that's identifying about my kids, but they're so desperate to show the audience, like, see, it's just one big happy family, and you need to love all of our anchors who are family women and men. And like, I knew with my kids that this would be endangering. I confess, even with my mom, who did wind up on my show at NBC, didn't even think about it, Fitz, didn't even consider like your mom as a potential source of danger, because it much in the way like this is like a new invention. It's like a new way of thinking of how to hurt a public figure. It's one of the many downsides of this horrible case.
Yeah, and I just want to go back to the bedroom scene. You can be the toughest MMA fighter, Navy SEAL, trained FBI, SWAT person, all those things. You're sound asleep in REM, rapid eye movement, and you open up, and there's a masked man with that kind of look that we see on the video standing over top of you.
Yeah, it's creepy.
You know, you're going to panic, and some will turn over and hide, and some will pull a pillow over. Some may get up and fight, but that person definitely has an advantage over you. And an 84-year-old woman, you know, without her hearing aids in, and you know, who knows what her med level was even at that night. So that had to be the most scary moment for her. But yeah, the whole family thing, I mean, I've interviewed stalkers, I've worked these type cases, and a lot of them had to do with on-air female personalities, such as yourself, Megyn, over the years, especially with NBC. I was in New York, and
KK never comments, but then, oh, hey, there's Ozo. God, that's crazy.
had a direct pipeline to their director of security, and Ann Curry and a number of others were getting threats all the time, and we had to go out and send leads to other parts of the country. And so it's one thing interpersonal, looking at the screen and seeing your object of obsession, but then they bring in mothers and perhaps children, and kudos to you for at least blurring out their faces on your particular segment that you talked about, Megyn. But and it just becomes all that more personal, and I just can't rule out that there's someone out there, because everything else doesn't make sense about this case. Obviously, it's not money-oriented, et cetera. To have some sort of an obsession with Savannah, and then now be almost like you're part of her family, and you know, the blood takes away from that, as if Nancy was injured, but because she may have put up a fight of some sort. But you know, this person may have just wanted to have part of Savannah with him for however long, a few hours, a few days, or weeks. And that's just coming more and more of a possibility as I see it. And these videos over the years.
I think this guy, he thinks it's like an obsession thing. I mean, it's definitely one of the theories out there.
No fault of Savannah. You can blame it on NBC if you want. But it's certainly a person who's already predisposed to aberrant behavior and plotting something like this. He may have seen this thing live, and I forget what you said this bedroom thing was 10 or 12 years ago. You know, he may have seen this live, and the fantasies started then. And I said, oh, I love Savannah so much. I want to meet her mother too. Who knows? There could have been a knock at the door over the years, and you know, no one made anything of it. And I have no doubt that there's been some interaction on this person's part prior. Exactly what it was with other family members, we don't know. Emails, but it's going to be there, and that's what investigators have to look for and search for. And these videos, unfortunately, didn't help. And I think other anchors and news personalities, such as yourself, you know this already, but leave the family out of it, and even mention them as minimally as necessary.
Yeah.
Can I add something to this,
advice.
Megyn?
Please.
This, what Fitz just said would answer two questions that we haven't had answers to before. Number one, why nothing was taken? There could have been something taken.
How come he copied the same comment? Carolyn wrote, I'm 81 with no cardiac problems, and I guarantee I would have a heart attack seeing that monster. Then this other person types in, I'm 73 with no cardiac issues, and I know I'd have heart failure if I woke up to that situation. I mean, Jesus, you guys. Come on.
There could have been something of Savannah's taken, which they wouldn't even have noticed. I'm sure she has her bedroom, her old bedroom is still there, and she probably wouldn't notice initially if some school trophy from 7th grade was missing or something along those lines, because they were looking for her mom.
just
It also
ridiculous.
answers the question of what were they doing in there for 41 minutes. He was, he could have been upstairs trying to find trophies, ones that would really satiate his needs and desire.
Right.
When you say upstairs, what do you mean upstairs?
Right. Well, and we don't know for sure if he was in there for 41 minutes, because we've
Okay, listen to this. Listen to this.
never really totally understood how
You
it was at
haven't.
1:47 a.m. that the Ring cameras went offline, and then
Notice how she said Ring cameras went offline.
at 2:12 a.m. that an image was detected. We think, but we don't know, that the video of the man on the porch was the 2:12.
Where the hell is she getting this from? What is she talking about? Oh, yeah, we think that the 212 is the guy at the front there. No, I mean, if that turns out to be true, then there's just a lot of garbage that was put out there. But the truth is, the timeline goes, at 1:47, the doorbell camera was disconnected. Okay? So that means a different camera would have to be the one that recorded the motion at 2:12. Right? It doesn't mean he entered the home at that time. I don't know where this comes from. Hey, Carolyn, I do it because of people like you, Carolyn. That's why. You're an absolute nut job. Why don't you come back later? Hey, thanks, Phyllis Watson. All right. Right, but why repeat the exact same comment, Carolyn? It just seems like childish. Yeah, it's great to go back and forth, but when you literally have the same sentence, it just seems really weird,
Time frame.
Have your
So
have your own brain, okay?
What happened between 1:47 and 2:12 with the man, we don't know if that's actually how this went down, but that would shorten the timeline that he was inside from 2:12 to 2:28. Still plenty of time to go rifling around.
Yeah, you see that though? I do have it at 2:12 to 2:28 that he went into the home, but that's not what.
Never really totally understood how it was at 1:47 a.m. that the Ring cameras went offline, and then
No, it wasn't the Ring cameras. It was the doorbell camera went off.
at 2:12
Why?
a.m. that an image was detected. We think, but we don't know, that the video of the man on the porch was the 2:12 time frame. So what happened between 1:47 and 2:12 with the man, we don't know if that's actually how this went down, but that would shorten the timeline that he was inside from 2:12 to 2:28. Still plenty of time to go rifling around in
And then she doesn't even explain, okay, well, that's 2:12. You think he went through the front door? Well, that didn't happen.
Savannah's childhood bedroom, and to
All right, guys, we're currently at 1/12 of the nightly goal. So if you guys, we're at $25, if you know what I'm referring to here. So if you guys could please help support the channel and get us moving forward a little bit more, that would be great. We're just, I don't know I can't invent money, it doesn't just show up. You guys, so I my channel relies on the people watching to help support it. And that's what allowed us already this month to give $1,500 out to a couple different true crime related charities.
mess with Nancy too. It's still a long time to get in there, and shouldn't have taken that long to get Nancy out, but one of the many mysteries in this case. We're talking about the sheriff. So he's changed his messaging again on whether there's a threat to the community in a way that I would argue seems to undermine that this is a stalker, that this is an NBC News stalker or family member. Just to take you back through it, at the beginning of the investigation, the sheriff said this about whether there was a public safety threat. SOT 21.
With this being an active crime scene, is there any threat to the general public?
Trying to figure out my point.
Well, no, I don't think there's an active threat, but I hate to say that because, we're going to canvass that neighborhood and maybe there's a prowler been seen around. There's a lot of work still to do. We don't have any indication that that the public is in danger.
You're not sure if it's targeted. Why do you believe
Yeah, well, he said he's not sure. That's a little different than what they try to make it sound like he said.
there's no wider threat to the public?
Well, we have crime in Tucson all the time, right? Like any city. And so when you say a threat to the public, is there somebody out there who's kidnapping elderly people in the middle of the night every night? We've not heard.
Yeah, Patricia, we've been saying that here the entire time. No, he did not go into the house at 147. The person went into the house at 212. Right after that, in my opinion, because that's when there was motion detected in the backyard when they made entry into the back of the house. They did not enter the front of the home. So that means the other time that was detected has to be around the time that they entered the house. My God, you got
That we don't believe that's the
crazy
case.
in here.
No threat to the public. Now, here he is in an interview with NBC
Thanks, Ally
News
K.
just this past Friday. SOT 22.
Do you think that this suspect could strike again, whoever did this?
Well, absolutely. We believe we know why he did this, and we believe.
But even before he said it's possible, they just have no idea. So here it says absolutely made it seem more possible. I don't think it's that severe. You know what I mean? When you listen to it from before, he didn't say no. He said, well, it's possible that they're, I can't say no.
That it was targeted, but
Thanks, Vicky
we
Wyatt.
can't. We're not 100% sure of that, and so it'd be silly to tell people, "Yeah, don't worry about it.
It's not a time zone, Richard Watts. It's just a time.
You're not his target." Don't think for a minute that because it happened to the Guthrie family, you're safe. No, keep your wits about you.
It happened between 212 and 228. That's when she was removed. 212 is when a camera, I think he probably got into the house even later, probably, like 214, 15 or so, then got Nancy Guthrie and got the hell out of there. Nancy Guthrie was the sole target, and that's why they parked the car in the front of the house, and that's why they needed to remove the surveillance camera so that it wouldn't film that car when it was parked there. And, if there is another person involved, I think it would be somebody driving the vehicle, but I don't think there was anybody else at the scene, like in the house. But, you just never know.
What, Maureen?
Well, no, he kind of
Well, I think what he's trying to say is, the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. So if someone is predisposed to doing this type of crime, they may do it again. But the statistics, as he also said, don't support serial offender or people pulling 84-year-old ladies out of their bed. There's just it just happens so rarely. I kind of just stopped listening to him a while ago because he should have hired his PIO. His PIO should have been the person delivering a clear and concise message. They should
Public
have been
information
working with the
officer.
FBI's PIO, and it should have just been delivered regularly in an organized fashion with no
But
back and
it's-
forth.
It's pretty diametrically opposed. Say at the beginning there is
No, it's
no
not
public safety
diametrically-
threat. And
Come on,
then
you guys.
now, 44.
Well, let's be honest. When you hear it back to back, it's not diametrically opposed, right? The first time he said, well, I don't want to say that people are in danger. You just never know. Right? And then later he said, absolutely there could be. Right? So it's almost the same. One, he was just more emphatic about it. Do you guys agree with that? It's not diametrically opposed. He didn't say originally, oh no, you're all fine, everybody. Go out and just do whatever the hell you want. Walk around at night. We're no problem whatsoever. There is no trouble. And then later he goes, oh yes, be vigilant. That would be diametrically opposed. That absolutely wasn't that way. And it's funny. See, this is the part that I'm talking about. Like, I don't, I think the sheriff has done not a great job. Seems like he's way in over his head. But the spin by the media, this is what I was bringing up the other day with you guys, is so overboard the other way that you sort of wonder after a while, like, how much of the stuff that we're feeling and stuff is really because the media keeps saying it over and over and over again. It's what I hope for the sheriff. I hope he soon, his people solve the case and a shitload of people have egg on their face. That they were onto something the whole time, they just couldn't say it. Wouldn't that be great? I mean, that would be great for him. I don't think that's likely going to happen, but
days in to say, don't think for a minute that you're safe. And then he also adds, Fitz, we believe we know why she was taken. It was targeted. So
yeah, I mean, that part's interesting.
What is he trying to tell us here?
Well, he's saying, but he also says this, we believe we know why. Not that we know why. It's we believe we know why. Just like we believe this and we believe, everybody believes something, right?
Well, he's covering his ass, to be CYA, to be blunt there at the end with those other statements. He wants to make sure, if anything,
what does that have to do with anything, Demon?
By chance does...
There wasn't a sheriff in Moscow, it was the police chief.
Happen. Again, something similar, even in some other part of the country, that can somehow be linked to this. He doesn't want to be the one that they quote, at least his last quote, that, it could never happen anywhere. She was specifically targeted. Phyllis. This is not going to happen in Tucson or elsewhere. So I think he's obviously talked to other people and maybe said, all right, you may want to lighten that up a little bit there. You may have gone a little bit overboard in the beginning. I mean, obviously, it's been 44 days. And as far as we know, there have been no other abductions such as this one. But I think he just wanted to make sure he's kind of buttering his bread on both sides there. And he's covered if something bad does happen.
Butter my bread and call it toast. There used to be this Blazer announcer that would say that. And it's like, God, what a ridiculous phrase for a basketball game.
Absolutely, we believe we know why she was targeted is new.
Well, that's a little... Yeah, I was just going to say, that's a little bit different. That comes out, and that, we've said all along when we were together, Megyn with Maureen and others, that, the investigators know a lot more than we do. And for him to say early on, at least, that they know why she was targeted, that means they have motivation listed. And if they think it was kidnapping earlier for profit, that seems to have been put, off the shelf there. So I would like to hear more about why the person was targeted.
I know, it would be cool to hear that, but we probably aren't going to get to hear that. But here's the thing, guys. Whenever I play these kind of things like this, just like the press conferences and whatnot, the support for the channel drops off so dramatically that it's hard to make it. All right? We're currently 40 minutes into the show, and we are at 1/10 of the nightly goal. So if you guys have the ability, pretend that you're, more entertained or whatever the hell it is. I don't know what to tell you. If you guys could help support the channel, that would be awesome. Thank you.
Or why Mrs. Guthrie was targeted, but they're keeping that close to the vest, obviously.
To your point, Maureen, you have to take everything the sheriff says with a grain of salt. But if that's true, that's huge. That's actually a huge development.
It is huge. And it tells us just what Fitz just said. And we all know those investigators know so much more than we do. And they're on to something. They're on to something big. They just may be having a hard time proving it. But if you look at the Corey Richins case, that took over a year and several months before she got arrested, before they were able to really build a case. And building a case is like building a cage. You're doing it link by link by link. And, you have to have a certain sense of confidence. And for him to say, no one's really safe, he may just be saying, hey, we know what the motive is, but we don't know who you are, to give the offender a sense of security or something where he doesn't feel like he's in that cage yet because they want him to trip up. I've always had the feeling since the beginning that they're trying to get him to trip up, and they as far as we know, haven't been able to, but we don't know everything they know. They could have another legitimate ransom note for all we know, and if it went straight to the FBI, we wouldn't know about it.
And we don't know whether his statements suggesting they didn't.
But he said he thought that since the beginning, so he's probably not referring to they got another another ransom letter.
Find anything.
Hey, thanks, Phyllis Watson.
Anything from the DM.
All right, who out there is going to do a challenge to get the show on the road or whatever the hell you call it?
DNA and the backpack investigation didn't go anywhere is true. We don't know whether any of those statements to us are true. He has no obligation to tell us the truth. And they often use the media for subterfuge around what the suspect may be hearing. So everything's got that huge grain of salt. Huge. It's the huge, coarse sea salt grain of salt, not the tiny table salt that you get at the deli. I want to talk about the blood because this is something.
So they bring in this expert on the blood.
That's always
quote expert.
Bothered me. We have the blood spatter outside of the house, outside the front door, and we saw the video of those drops in the sort of the front patio area, and then we saw Fox News release more.
I don't think they've ever dismissed it, the ransom.
More video. This is Brian Enton's video here showing the blood right outside of the front door, and then we saw more blood when Fox News released its own video showing that the blood continued down the walkway from this area here toward the driveway, the circular driveway. Now, in the video that we see of the perpetrator, we don't see a car sitting in the driveway, but that doesn't mean it wasn't there because we couldn't. It's a very large driveway. And here's the Fox News video showing more blood spatter. So clearly, we all believed Nancy was taken
all the way from there to here,
out the front door in some way and taken down this gray concrete pathway, and we're assuming put into a car. But one of the things that's always bothered me, you guys, is that, as you know, when you're trying a case, you bring in an expert. You don't, you typically at any criminal trial, you will have the prosecution will call, or the defense sometimes will call, a witness in and put that person on the stand as an expert. And, this is going to be extremely relevant in this case, too. Law enforcement did confirm that this is Nancy's blood, but what else can we deduce about that, right? Like, what else can we tell from these droplets? We've all had lots of speculation about, well, they look like this. It's probably straight up and down blood drops. Well, let's check our speculation and bring in a true expert. Her name is Dr. Amy Santoro, and she's worked as a forensic scientist for 18 years. She's especially adept at analyzing blood at crime scenes. She's investigated over 1,000 cases, including more than 500 crime scenes, and holds a certification in blood stain pattern analysis. Dr. Santoro, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for doing this. So you're the expert. Tell us what you see when you see those blood droplets outside of Nancy's front door.
Well, thanks for having me. The blood outside, I think, is really concerning because, to me, assuming that Miss Guthrie is moving at somewhat of a walking pace, these blood stains show that she's bleeding pretty quickly. What type of injury is it? I don't think we can tell from the stains. They look like drip stains to me, and those small dots of blood are what we would call satellite spatter.
Bullshit.
That happens when blood falls from a certain height onto a target surface like this.
That's complete garbage. I don't know if she got a shitty picture to analyze, but that's complete garbage. How did these little fine mist get way over there like that? I mean, it dropped and then and these pieces shot way over there. That's complete garbage, what she's saying there. And also, if you look right here, it's concentrated. There isn't drops in there. That's not a drop. These are drops. This is the central focal point of the expirated blood right there. And no, I'm not I'm not a certified blood spatter expert, but I'm telling you, I've seen so many trials where they don't know what the hell they're talking about. It's crazy. So, I mean, it makes you wonder, these cases out there where it relies on people. That's absolutely not what that is. It is not she called it, what'd she call it? Some sort of It's just not accurate. Let me back it up.
That Miss Guthrie is moving at, somewhat of a walking pace. These blood stains show that she's bleeding pretty quickly. What type of injury
What does that mean? Bleeding pretty quickly.
is it? I don't think we can tell from the stains. They look like drip stains to me, and those.
Yeah, like you look up satellite. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, it's something more like yeah, it's hard to, like this right here, you hit and these little drops fly over. Maybe like that. Like there's this big chunk here and boom, the stuff goes over there like that. Like the blood itself is what creates the sort of the satellite, little particles of the same droplet to shoot off and land. Okay, that's absolutely not what's happening in this picture. See that? This is somebody stationary, dripping straight down, coughing. And if this was true, how come it's so concentrated right there? Right in that one spot, it's so concentrated. It seems like, and then it's way out here, the misting. That just doesn't happen with that. I guarantee. I just know it. Okay, like this hits right there. Maybe there's a couple, maybe something related. I mean, who the hell knows? I just think it dripped down, and then how come it's so concentrated right there? There's no drop in there. That's just concentration of the expirated blood. But hey, guys, I don't know. I don't want to keep asking over and over and over again on here. I feel like every show I have to ask 17 million times to get the support from the people watching the show on, to make us to the goals that we have in here, so that we can, at the end of the month, be able to supports the channel, and then we also give out thousands of dollars. All right. So can you please help support the channel here? We're currently we're at $37. Does that make sense to you?
Small dots of blood are what we would call satellite spatter. That happens when blood falls from a certain height on.
Yeah, just a weird wording. Bleeding pretty quickly. Yeah, it just, you might say profusely or something. But I just think it's, you're just stationary and you're dripping blood, and then you coughed up. So there isn't a ridiculous amount of droplets there. There's like, 10 or 15 total.
Onto a target.
Thanks, Phyllis Watson.
Target surface like this. So what I can tell is that the blood is falling from a height probably more than 2 feet, whether that's from her hand, her arm, her face. I don't think we can tell, but I think it's an indication that she is bleeding very quickly. There's so much blood out there that if you were walking, I don't think you would see that distribution of blood with a slower bleed. You can see there are multiple drip stains in that area.
But the shape of the blood is straight down. It wasn't like she was moving and it hit at an angle. She was still. So the guy probably opened the door, and as he's opening it, she's standing still. As he puts her outside, stand still, maybe her feet are, like right over here in this area. And then she coughs, and then blood's dripping a little bit, and then he starts walking her out. That's why there's no blood over here on the left. He's to her right. And she's walking, but I bet she bent over and was like coughing right there. I don't believe the burrito theory. Hey, thank you very much. Demon Angel Tag. Demon Angel Tag. Thank you. Yeah, sometimes I feel like rage quitting.
So unless she's standing there stationary for a period of time, which of course is possible, although I think unlikely in an abduction, I think it shows that she really is bleeding pretty badly.
Does that suggest to you that she had any particular kind of wound?
I don't think
Listen to some of this stuff. Like she tore her skin.
we can say, and I think it's important to be conservative. I don't want to go out on a limb, and certainly I don't want to speculate on, the severity of the injury, other than to say I think it's fair to assume that there's some sort of quickly bleeding source. That could be, just a tear to the skin on her arm. She's an elderly.
Tear to the skin on her arm. Really? That's what you get out of that? See, I guess in her mind, she thinks it's just droplets, and then this right here, like every one of these drops was so perfectly that it all multiplied right there in the middle, because there's a drop there, and then it all hit right in the middle there, and it made it look like no way. There's fine mist all around like that. That's what you get when you cough, and it's that's like, it's 10 inches across from here to here. So like that here is probably 6 inches. And then look at over here, there's more little tiny, so you think a little drop here shot out these little particles way over there? I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see. I don't agree with that.
Woman, you can see even in some of her older media appearances that she has kind of a typical thin-skinned appearance that people tend to get when they're older. So if there's some sort of struggle and her skin rips, that could cause it. If she receives some sort of blunt force trauma to the face, she gets hit in the face, that could cause it. We often see blood dripping like this from a bleeding nose, but it really could be anything.
Can you rule anything out? Because it is a little odd that there's so many perfect droplets.
I don't know that we can rule anything out, but I do have some suspicion that perhaps she received this injury outside.
Now let's see. She received the injury outside. I mean, what in the hell? No wonder somebody made that crazy comment. I don't see blood on the door or anything. What are you talking about? I mean, you can't even see it. How do we know if there's any blood on the door? All we have is this video here that Enton took. I mean, I wish he had done it a little slower, but at least it's something. And how would the injury have happened outside? There's the blood at the end of the sidewalk. Look at this. Can't you see, just look right there and see that somebody could be bleeding and walk out of there? See, when you're bleeding, the blood hits your foot in some spots and then doesn't and hits the ground in other spots. So you wouldn't see it. You're not going to be stepping on your own blood as you're bleeding going forward. Do you get it? Like, imagine, just think about it like this. If you had water in your hand and you're walking and you let it drop on the ground, you're moving forward, so you're always ahead of where the blood is hitting. It might hit your foot, but then it hits the ground, and then your next footstep goes forward. Hey, thanks, Saturn Dreaming of Mercury and Demon Angel Tag. All right. Hey, we got to a third. That's way over there. That was me. I'm not at the scene there. It's crazy. When I was recording it, But look, I mean, you could step here and there and over here and all that. And maybe that's why it looks like that. There might be blood on the top of her shoe. But there are some drops that made it through. I mean, isn't that just common sense?
And the reason I say that is because when I look at the video, I really don't see any blood in the area of the door. There's not any blood staining on the threshold. There's not any blood staining, or doesn't appear to be any blood staining on the door itself, which makes me wonder if she's already outside past that threshold.
How can you tell if there's blood on the door or anything from the pictures that we have?
When she receives this injury.
Thank you, Saturn Dreaming of Mercury.
And if it's outside,
You know, we haven't had one challenge in here tonight, you guys.
I know it's a fairly secluded area, but nobody heard anything. So that's probably something more like a strike or, just a simple skin tear and not some sort of injury that's going to cause a very loud noise.
Why do you think that the blood droplets all appear to be intact? I'm just picturing like Nancy possibly walking, possibly with a bloody nose. And it seems to me, especially with an elderly woman, that blood would fall and then you'd likely step in it and possibly even drag your foot. A lot of elderly people shuffle for stability's sake.
What do you guys? I don't think you'd have to step on it. Oh, look at that! We got a challenge by Phyllis Watson. The Farrah Fawcett feathered look. Yeah, she's doing a 5 for 5, you guys. So if we get 5 gifted memberships, just one by 5 different people, she'll do 5 all by herself. That would be awesome. We'd get to near 50% after that. So thank you.
Well, I do think that there are some stains that look a little bit strange. They're
play
irregular in shape, which could be transfer stains from something like...
I'm going to start playing the Charlie's Angels music.
Drag your foot. A lot of elderly people shuffle for stability's sake.
Well, I do think that there are some stains that look a little bit strange. They're irregular in shape, which could be transfer stains from something like, the blood on the bottom of her feet.
Wow, it looks like Saturn Dreaming of Mercury did it all by themselves. And there's Alley Cake, too. Thank you.
Feet. But you're only going to step in that blood if you're standing in that area. And if you're getting pulled or dragged away and you're moving pretty quickly, or you're being carried away, you're not going to be leaving those types of stains. You're not going to be stepping in that blood if you're moving away.
Right. The blood has to be on the ground first, then you step on it and move forward. Well, thank you guys. Thanks, Saturn Dreaming of Mercury, Alley Cake, and Phyllis Watson, and Demon Angel Tag.
Very quickly. There's just not an opportunity to do that.
So you can't tell whether she walked of her own volition or was carried?
I don't think I can. No, I mean, you can see that there are some unusual looking stains there.
I don't know where anybody comes up with... If she was being carried, there would be footsteps in her blood. I think if I was analyzing this and I was a blood spatter person, I would say that this is consistent with her bending over and coughing and then being led out. So if her feet are still and she's coughing, her next step to the right isn't going to land on any blood, but a blood from her nose might then hit the ground between her feet or off to the side if it happened to miss her foot, that kind of thing. All right? And then, but if she was being carried out, though, then there would be somebody like the burrito theory, right? Your one's at one end, the other's at the other end. Well, then that person in the back is likely going to step on blood, right? Because you're holding her, and then blood drops out, and then your foot lands on top of it as you're walking. Yeah, I don't understand some of wow.
But I don't think it's enough to determine if it's from a foot, from a shoe. Also, I think it's important to understand that this is after the crime scene has been released.
And thank you so much up there, Phyllis Watson, Alley Cake, Saturn Dreaming of Mercury, and for the challenge up there, Phyllis. And Demon Angel Tag.
And we know that there was at least some sampling taken of these bloodstains from crime scene responders, so they could have caused some alteration to the way these stains look by taking their swabs.
We've heard the over-the-shoulder thing. It just seems so ludicrous to me. Like she's leaning, like you're lifting her up, carrying over your shoulder, and then she's like, her head's got so low to the ground that he's literally like holding her by her knees over her head now so that she could cough right next to the ground. And then he keeps walking. Doesn't it just make more sense to, you have a gun, you're not having the person walk very far, you just at gunpoint, she's already kind of injured somehow, and you just walk her out to the car and get her into it. That makes the most sense. You never know, though. You
can
never
see
know.
that parts of those bloodstains are missing. The center of some of those bloodstains are starting to flake away. Some of that could have been removed by crime scene responders as they're taking samples.
This may go back to the question you already answered about what you can't rule anything out necessarily.
Sure, if you want to say that he put her outside first, she bent over and coughed, and then he goes, oh, and then he picked her up and over his shoulder and walked to the car. Okay, great. But usually people are using that to explain the low blood spatter on the ground there, the expirated blood.
But not having been to any murder crime scenes, can you say that this was not, for example, a gunshot or like a stabbing wound, because those would have produced a lot more blood? I've heard some say this to me looks like a nosebleed where you get a fair amount of blood, but it falls pretty straight.
That's what it looks like to me.
Straightforward, straight down, as opposed
Well, thanks, Demon Angel Tag.
to, forgive the term, but like a real gusher of a wound.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like the type of blood staining that you would get from a very serious injury, like a gunshot. We typically expect to see much smaller stains associated with a gunshot. And then once you are bleeding from a serious injury, we do tend to see a lot more blood. There are so many variables that can affect this. People oftentimes just bleed internally, and certainly I've worked shooting homicides where there's almost no blood on scene, but it doesn't look to me like it's associated with something like a gunshot. There's
what would make that a gunshot wound?
patterns that I would expect to see in a gunshot case that I don't see here, but we don't know what the inside of the house looks like.
Maureen and Fitz, do you guys have any questions you want to ask Amy?
I do. Two things, Amy. First, you think that these bloodstains are consistent with someone moving quickly across the porch?
Well, I think the blood source is bleeding quickly because you can see all of these drips, right? So if you're standing on this porch for a minute, you can be bleeding slowly, drip, drip, drip. But that's probably not the situation. You probably aren't hanging out having a conversation out here at 2:30 in the morning in the middle of an abduction. If you're trying to take Mrs. Guthrie away from the house, you're trying to get out of there. So if she is being pulled or she is walking, then what we see is that much faster drip, 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 a much more serious injury. Because there are quite a lot of stains there. Even down the sidewalk, you can see those stains are pretty close to each.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, if you look at it like this, see, I always use this because I think it's pretty interesting to look at it like the way I'm about to show it to you. See, these are 10-inch tiles, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. You can see there's blood right here, right? So it made it all the way to the last tile. And I bet you anything there's blood over here. There's little drops. Brian Enton just didn't see them because it was in this gravelly area. And it was probably sunny and it was hard to see. But he just didn't see it because Fox News showed it. There was blood down at the end of the path. I guarantee you this keeps going. And I bet you law enforcement knows exactly where each of the drops are. They have it. But look at this picture right here. So it's on this last tile. So if we go and look at this image right here, watch. This is right where Nancy made it, was at one point. Right there. You could just picture her sort of bent more like that, right? But she made it right to there. So if this camera was working, you'd see Nancy all the way to this position, and then the guy probably standing right next to her right, moving her down the driveway. You see? You guys understand? You get it? I just want to make sure. It's probably kind of small. Let me get the dog out of there. See, I just showed you the tile that had the blood on it was the last one. So that means Nancy made it this far. That, for sure, like we see it. And we also know that she made it all the way down to the end because there's droplets over there. But, on the camera, it would have looked like this sort of, wouldn't, obviously it's her, not this guy. But right in that position.
Each other. So however she is bleeding.
Man, are you guys even here? It's like, so deflating to talk, say shit, and not have any commentary back at all. Hey, thanks, Karen.
It's replenishing quite quickly. But again, she's a lady of a certain age.
Right.
And they do tend to bleed, that happens.
And secondly, certainly the investigators have a much better idea as to where the blood came from, because if it came from her nose, there would be all kinds of...
Here, I'll go back over here again. Yeah, see, there's a step down right there, and then right here, there's just 2 steps. And then it goes right to the car. So I think he parked his car where this guy's standing almost. So right from there, just got her here into the car and got out of there. And so at the end, we might be able to figure out exactly where that was. Let me try to do that. There's the shadow. I don't know if he did this all in one motion. It's hard to say. Okay, so let's go back to here. There's the shadow right before the crack. I don't know, I can't see it. Yeah, there's multiple. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little drops. You know what? That's probably like they stopped for a moment to get her to go down the stairs, even though that might be a little bit further back. So based on that, it's right. They're right. Those blood droplets are right here. If that shadow is right around the same time. Now, that could have been 10 minutes later, and then the shadow's in a different spot. But I feel like that could be that branch that I just saw. Let me just look at that again. Right there, this thing. So that would make sense. So it's kind of, 5 or 6 feet back up into the path.
Residue in there. If it came from her mouth, there'd be all kinds of saliva, right? So they would be able to rule some things out, and they probably have a much better understanding of where, in fact, this blood came from.
Yeah, that's what I said. I think it's a nosebleed that went into her throat, and then she coughed up right there, low to the ground. Either bent over, maybe she kind of went down, sort of bent her knees, and then coughed. Who knows? And then he walked her out at gunpoint. That's what makes sense to me. Because it was slow, kind of, like methodically walking, and then she's dripping blood, but she's alive. Wouldn't that be crazy if she's still alive somewhere? Wouldn't that be the most amazing thing in the world?
Yeah,
Right?
I would hope that there was some serological testing that was done. We know that there was DNA analysis, and we know that this is Nancy Guthrie's blood, but we can do serological testing to determine if there is saliva present in these stains. I don't see any indication that there would be, but we can certainly test for that in a laboratory setting.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. Maybe you could figure out what part of the body it may have come from. Go ahead, Fitz.
Amy, I've been asked this question a few times over the last month. The bleeding seems, or I should say the blood stains seems to have stopped at a certain point. And the best I could speculate is either...
See, that's the problem with bad, like if you make a mistake in reporting, it becomes a fact. Okay? And now everybody always keeps saying that the bleeding just sort of stopped at a certain point on the path. And we don't know that. In fact, the evidence shows that there was bleeding in the house. That's what has been actually reported out there by Fox News and other organizations, that there were blood spatter in the house that was consistent with what we see outside. So it's dripping. She goes outside. She's still dripping. There's blood all the way down the path. And then where it stops is right where you would get into a car.
The direct pressure was put on whatever the wound was by perhaps Nancy herself or the abductor, or perhaps in whatever condition she was.
Thanks,
the abductor
Wild Bill
picked her
Wassman.
up. I know she's about 140 pounds. I guess, a fit guy could carry someone, and perhaps the blood just, kind of dripped down on whatever she was wearing at that time. But you're the expert here. Do you have any potential hypothesis as to why the blood drops stopped at a certain point?
Well, the first thing that I think when we have something like this, a trail of drip stains, and then they stop, is that person got into a car.
Boom. Okay, that's good. That one right there made sense, right? Finally, something that makes sense.
That's the most obvious answer that kind of occurs to me. But you're right. If there's some sort of pressure applied, even by Nancy Guthrie herself, that's going to lessen the amount of blood, which I think would suggest that she's able to at least tend to her wounds. Maybe
April. They could have put I don't know. I mean, it seems like, I don't know if they expected her to be bleeding when they took her out of the house. So maybe there is blood somewhere.
Just able to put her hand over wherever is bleeding, or maybe able to move her clothing around to cover so that the blood is being absorbed into her clothing and not dripping.
How does that one work, Timothy? I don't get it. I will match a donation up to 20 if someone tells a joke, but that would have to be a super chat of up to 20, right? That makes you laugh. But if somebody sends in a $5 super chat and makes you laugh, then is that what the match is? I don't know how that one works. I like the jokes, though, that people were telling the other day, though.
Onto the concrete anymore, but I think we really just don't know. Those are answers that we just don't have right now. I'd like to know what the rest of the driveway looked like at the beginning of crime scene processing. It's interesting to me that there was this much blood that was left outside after the crime scene was released. That's probably not a choice that I would have made if I was managing this crime scene. But since we do know that crime scene responders were there before these images were taken, it's possible that there's more blood that...
Well, it's weird that they just left it there. I mean, I guess... I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that's normal or not. It just seems kind of strange that, you have these people showing up and there it is. Blood droplets. All right, who's going to tell a joke? Well, I don't know how that one works, though, Timothy. So I guess somebody has to send a super chat with a joke, and then if Timothy laughs, he'll match it. But it's up to 20. So if you send in a $2 joke, it wouldn't be very effective. Yeah, it's her blood, Richard. Yeah. They've already ruled that a fact in the case. Yeah, we know. KK.
By that it was blood, though Ashley Banfield's reporting it was. Was that it, Fitz, or we're good?
No, I'm good with the blood. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Doc. It's such a pleasure. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Well, that's interesting, right? It's like all along I've been wanting to hear from somebody who actually does this for a living. As you know, there are these real experts. I'm kind of relieved. I know maybe it's simple at this point to say such a thing, but I'm relieved that it didn't look like gunshot blood. I know we don't have a whole lot of reason to believe that Nancy's alive still, but I'm still relieved that maybe even to the expert it looked more like a possible nosebleed, guys.
I'm still so sad after watching.
I just get really frustrated, you guys. It's so amazing. It's the number of views that these kind of like the shows, and they just put out stuff that's not really accurate at all, and everybody laps it up. You read the comments under the videos, and nobody seems to have picked up on the false information. They all just go, oh, wow, really good. Wow, 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 wow. And there were so many inaccurate pieces of information. So I don't know. I personally get frustrated as hell, to be honest.
That the intro video you guys put together of everything that happened, and there's this poor woman. We've all been hoping and praying for her since the very beginning, and this is just too much. And my blood simultaneously is boiling with whoever did this to her.
Yeah, who's watching shows like this, as you've been pointing out, Fitz, enjoying it. You know, to your point about the person who may have taken her because they're...
I don't think anybody's doing that one, Timothy. Maybe we could do a different one.
obsessed with Savannah, and just getting off on knowing now Savannah's thinking about him. You know, like all this time, Savannah's had to think about him and speculate about him. And now that there's an image from the front door, you know, possibly think about the actual him. It's infuriating. And speaking of the photos, can I just ask you your thoughts on that? But also this report now that they did recover some additional still images from the cameras around Nancy's house.
Yeah, and so all of those ones are going to have the same quality as this one. See that? That's one of those stills. That's what that looks like. Blurry. It's a thumbnail. And those are really take up little space, so there's a good chance that video isn't going to write over it. Hey, look at that. We got a... Timothy Cecil is doing a 5 for 5 match. So if we get 5 gifted memberships, he'll donate 5 himself. And then we'll be, you know, kind of like at about 70-something%. That would be awesome. Yeah, but that's what they're going to look like, that kind of quality. But in the daytime, you'll be able to see it a little bit better. The ones that they might have.
But no moving pictures, no video. And they say, ABC News is reporting, like, I don't know if I should say nothing of interest. That's not fair. But nothing incriminating, you know, random pictures that don't really tell us much. I guess it's just, to me, it seems like just yet another big disappointment, Jim. I don't know. What do you make of it? The reports of they did get some photos, but not video. And they are still checking. You know, at least they're still checking the cameras around her house.
And just to go back to the first part of what you said to me, if this person who abducted Mrs. Guthrie had a trophy room before about Savannah with her pictures and little incense and candles, I assure you.
Do you guys think that there's a trophy room of Savannah in that house with incense and candles? I mean, that's a pretty wild imagination right there.
It is much more incorporated now in terms of a whole second wing of that trophy room or trophy section of the house in terms of artifacts keeping to remind him of his very keen.
You're saying he has one? Let me go back.
Say ABC News is reporting, like, I don't know if I should say nothing of interest. That's not fair. But nothing incriminating, you know, random pictures that don't really tell us much. I guess
maybe
it's just, to me, it seems like just yet another big disappointment.
Hold
Jim.
on, let's listen.
I don't know. What do you make of it? The reports of they did get some photos, but not video, and they are still checking. You know, at least they're still checking the cameras around her house.
And just to go back to the first part of what you said to me, if this person who abducted Mrs. Guthrie had a trophy room before about Savannah.
The person that abducted her.
With her pictures and little incense and candles. I assure
so it'd be like a stalker, obsessed person. That's a theory that people have.
Assure you, it is much more incorporated now in terms of a whole second wing of that trophy room.
Hey guys, we need 2 more gifted memberships up there to reach Timothy Cecil's challenge.
Or trophy section of the house in terms of artifacts keeping to remind him of his his very keen interest in Savannah. And again, I'm not locking into that, but that's something that these guys, investigators, have to look into. And as far
And
as
let me just add one other detail
ahead.
before you get to the camera analysis. The ABC is reporting that the cameras recorded nothing suspicious. That's how they put it. Nothing suspicious. But they were able to observe several people in the back and side yards over an unspecified period prior to the abduction. And they said that also they have images of after Nancy was taken, law enforcement officers seeing near the pool. However, the cameras captured nothing on the night of the abduction, said sources. Investigators have drawn no conclusions as to why, but one source described it as odd. No images on the night of the abduction. I mean, why? This is like the same.
I don't know. Well, here's what I think. I think he was at the front door. They've got those images, right? And when he walked up, they've even got the one thumbnail. And maybe that's from a different night. I don't know. But they've got the video. And then he disconnects the camera. So then later, what other camera would be getting an image of him? Then he jumps over a fence, and then maybe there was a motion that they didn't pay their bill, and perhaps that one thumbnail was written over, and then he goes into the house. And then he goes out the front door where there's no camera anymore. I think it's absolutely makes sense to me that there's hardly anything on cameras. Do you get it? Just think about that. Logically, common sense, reason. Here's where the camera was. He removed the camera because he's going to be parking a car here. After he removed the camera, he went back to the vehicle and he waited. Perhaps what he has in his pocket is a police scanner, and he's just seeing if there's any calls that are coming in. He doesn't find any. Then he drives the vehicle and then parks it right here at like 207. That camera is no longer there. It cannot film the vehicle. It cannot film him. He probably broke it or did something with it. Then he walks around the house over here. And then he hops over this fence. And at that moment, this camera picked him up. And then he enters the home right after that. So that's all. The only camera that would have got him was that one. That's it. And now when the car drove in here, I think if you actually look at it, watch how there's a camera, I think, right there on this house, this building there, and right over here. So watch what it looks like there. So when the car pulled in, that camera isn't going to get a damn thing. Look at this. That's way over here. You just pull in there and look at that. Do you think that's going to get a good shot of anything? Or even be activated? Look at that. There's a tree there, a huge cactus. So you just come around here and you turn and then park. I think that's exactly what he did. And there was only 2 cameras that had a chance. He removed one of them. All right, we need one more gifted channel memberships to reach Timothy Cecil's goal. Does that make sense what I just said? I need more feedback, you guys. It seems like I'm just talking to a brick wall. All right, thanks. Hey! Thanks, Michelle H., for reaching it.
Same thing as like the neighbors saying their cameras went off on, the night of the abduction for the period they believe around the time she was taken. But we've had other smart analysts say they don't believe that the guy had a Wi-Fi jammer because there's no way we'd be seeing the.
Thanks, Sandy Shirley and Timothy Cecil. I think this guy in here, he thinks it's a police scanner. There are police scanners that look exactly like that little part that sticks out of the pocket.
Those images of the guy pulling the vegetation out and putting him on the doorbell if he had a Wi-Fi jammer on him. I don't know what to believe, but it is strange that they see lots of thumbnail images
Timothy
prior
Cecil.
to her abduction.
Thanks, Timothy. Appreciate it. Boom. Chakalaka. Now look at this one right here. See that? I'm not sure what the other, do they have the top of it? I mean, it looks similar. There's other ones that were almost identical like that, maybe. just sick of Google or just the things that pop up on the screen. What is this? I don't want to go with that. What is this? Jesus. Good Lord. Like that one. See this thing on Amazon? Doesn't that look exactly the same? So just take a look at that. Let me open that up in Amazon here. So you've got this that shape where it goes like that. And then let's go over to here. Maybe you wouldn't buy that one, but there's some that look just like it. And then let's see. I can't remember where it showed up, but I think it's maybe right before this. I think it's right there. There. See that? Right there in the pocket. And you can see the top of it right there. See that? So maybe that's a police scanner, and that's all he was listening to. And not now. He listened to it when he was waiting to see if there was a call that came in. And that's exactly what this guy says. And that's what we've said on here, too.
Police, after...
I don't think they thought through the parking issue. I don't think... Have you guys heard any other YouTubers... maybe you have now because they always steal the shit that I say, but have you ever heard any of them say that that the reason they removed the camera was because of the that they were going to park their car there? That's the actual reason. Other than that, they didn't care at all that that camera was there.
The abduction, but nothing the night of.
You know, in my early days as an investigator, some places would have surveillance cameras, security cameras, and the bank cameras always work. And I'm sure Maureen can attest to that. You remove the old film, take it, get it processed. There you have pictures of the bank robbery in progress. But invariably, the other ones, private security, whatever, if you're lucky, you get half the time that they actually work. Then we went to a whole point in time where all these cameras worked all the time, and they solved so many cases, not just cases.
Where, Timothy? What do you mean?
Maureen and I worked, but other cases we read about in the media. Now we have this case of Nancy Guthrie. They have enough
you must have watched a lot of channels to
install a camera system in there, and even around the pool, whatever. And we have these failures to.
I don't know if it was muted.
perform.
I just said I don't think he had it on then. He did it when he was listening to make sure he could go into the house.
If you will.
Maybe it was on really low too.
Or failures to provide an accurate recount of what happened that night. And yeah, I mean, the jammer part was always, I listened to, I think we discussed it last week, and I listened to that part, and sure, it's a possibility, a little bit extra sophistication that I would have given this guy, and really nothing else makes sense so far. But does the person somehow know the system to begin with? And it didn't require a sophisticated jammer type mechanism, but just knew the weaknesses and the flaws it contained.
I mean, Megyn Kelly does say something I've said is, if the guy had a jammer, why was there this perfect video from the Ring camera here? He just used it at the neighbor's home? I mean, that's stupid.
They're in. Or did they do something days or weeks before to somehow counteract that system? I don't know. He could have just been lucky, and these particular images don't work. And the last thing I'll leave you with here is I appreciate all the sources that media people have. I was never a source. I never asked Maureen this question. I'm positive.
Yeah, they just say, if it is a walkie-talkie, though, it does probably imply that there's somebody else that he's communicating with. But everyone just wanted to be so cool and go, ooh, a jammer. Ooh, yeah, wow, this guy's, I don't know, man. It's so weird. It's like, you get these people that start talking and they come up with something that's less likely because it sounds cooler. And then everybody runs with it instead of just looking at it and going, you know, that doesn't really make a hell of a lot of sense. But we all had to talk about it. You know, that's the problem. Then they say, oh, yeah, their electrical box went out. And, you know, and all of a sudden all these neighbors are just, oh, yeah, my power. It was interesting. What, you know, they all say, oh, something was weird with our power at that time. And then that one lady that Enton interviewed, he asked her that, and she goes, I don't know, I was asleep. And that's exactly what I said on here. I go, how the hell would any of these people know that they had an issue with something at 2:30 in the morning? They're sleeping.
She was never a source for a media outlet. And you just have to be careful sometimes of what ABC and other outlets are reporting. And I just have,
I don't know. I don't really know how to do it. I think there's a way that you can do something where, I mean, I try to do that when I'm, you know, there's people that use my material for negative purposes, just taking out the worst of whatever I say, and then they turn it into just a shit show. I mean, it's amazing. So, in those instances, there's a setting that I can click on after I, you know, get them reported. And I don't ever delete videos. That's what they think. Well, now they know, but I always put them on private, so they think, ooh, I'm going to record this and I'm going to put it out there. Well, that's too late. You know, I've got it. Why do they think the guy was not sophisticated? I don't know. Oh, they think he's not sophisticated because the plant. They think he's a bumbling fool because of the plant. I think people are overthinking the plant situation. It could be that he was so confident, he just went there knowing he could deal with it, didn't really care. He just knew that he had to block it or get rid of it. That's it. He probably got there thinking, oh, yeah, I just need to block the camera or get rid of it. I don't really care, you know. Okay, I'll just remove it. I can't get the plant to stick on there. All right. Didn't care at all. You know, just simple.
we know for fact, I will say this emphatically, that the investigators have a lot more information, including surveillance images, than we know about. Of course, they're not perfect, not all the ones they may want to see of the guy in progress, but at the same time, they have more than we know. And still shots, could do moving video people, could be animals, could be human. These are all things that the investigators know, and hopefully they're pouring it down into a funnel, and they have a little stream of evidence that they will eventually know will take them to the actual abductor.
Mm-hmm. I don't know, Maureen. You know, the neighbors are saying that their cameras stopped working on the night in question, right around the time that Nancy was taken. But again, other experts are saying if you had a Wi-Fi jammer sophisticated enough to jam the Wi-Fi at the neighbors' properties, there is zero chance we would have those images of the guy coming onto the patio and messing with the Ring doorbell. Like, if he had the
Unless he didn't
Wi-Fi
turn the
jammer,
jammer-
and it shut things down at 1:47, right? Because they're saying the doorbells went offline at 1:47, cameras went offline, but then an image was captured at 2:12. Like, what happened with the Wi-Fi jammer? It worked at 1:47, and then we forgot to use it when we actually approached the house.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
Well, it depends on the user. You know, so much of this could be chalked up to user error. But I agree with Fitz. I think a jammer just seems a little bit too sophisticated for that clown we saw on the front porch. I think it's far more likely it was a walkie-talkie, because
The clown we saw on the front porch. Well, you know what? He's gotten away with it so far, hasn't he? You know? He wore a balaclava, gloves. He knew to disable the camera, to put his car there. He went into the house. He abducted Nancy Guthrie, put it into his car, and he took off, and nobody's caught him yet. So, I mean, maybe we should give him a little more credit that maybe, you know, if we underestimate him, you might miss something. But currently we need about another challenge and a half to reach the goals, you guys. And thanks, Marty, for the coffee there. We need a challenge and a half. Can we do it? I don't think he's as dumb as people are saying. One thing that they do say was sort of interesting was the guy, I've been watching Tombstone 2. He mentions not 2 as well. And so that there's that last scene with Doc Holliday and Ringo, he has his gun kind of in the front like that. And the guy said, maybe, this guy is trying to, do something like that. Maybe it is kind of weird because that is how he had his gun, a little bit more off to the side, but it's in the front. Yeah, I guess if he's a clown, what does it make them, huh? If they haven't solved it yet.
Clearly, they didn't have their phones with them, or their phones certainly weren't on, because we weren't able to find them. The cast team wasn't able to find them, and they're the best in the world at this stuff. So my guess
we're about like $75 short of the goal currently.
It's a walkie-talkie. They're easy to get. They're cheap. You can buy them at a swap meet. You can buy them anywhere. And it's just like, we've got her at the front door. Pull up to the front of the house. The camera's been disabled.
So that's
Boom,
it. So
up
if it's
she
a
comes.
walkie-talkie, Maureen, he's got an accomplice.
Yeah, I believe he has an accomplice. I've said that from the very beginning.
Right, because you think it's they wrapped her up like a burrito.
I think there are 2 people involved. I don't think there were 5 people involved, but I think 2 people were involved. And who knows? Maybe the guy that was at the door is dead already, because it's.
Where does this this is where these people go off too far. They go way over the. I'm your Huckleberry. That's right, Phyllis. Isn't that the greatest? I mean, I got to tell you, man, I've watched Tombstone like 4 times in the last 6 months. I mean, that sucker, it's so good. Yeah. That's probably one of the best Westerns that there ever was, I'm your Huckleberry. You're no Daisy. You're no Daisy. Pew. Yeah. That was just. I like how he says that. Even that other time where he had the 2 guns and he was drunk. He's like just. Yeah, I don't know, man. It is. It's crazy. It's not even that old, but it's probably one of the best Westerns ever made, I would say. Now let's rewind this a little bit and hear this gem.
Maureen, he's got an accomplice.
Yeah,
Thank
I believe
you,
he has an
Phyllis
accomplice. I've said that from the very beginning. I think there are 2 people involved. I don't think there were 5 people involved, but I think.
How about 3 though?
I think 2 people were involved. And who knows? Maybe the guy that was at the door is dead.
I mean, but what's that? That's just such wild kind of. Sure, it's possible, but what makes you say that?
Already, because it's pretty hard to keep a secret when you have
Right, but how come? Why is the guy at the door the one that was the guy that got killed? Why not the other guy, the one driving the car that wasn't really involved that much? Wouldn't that be the one that's more likely to be dead? I mean, why that guy? It's just crazy to me, man. I don't know where they come up with this stuff.
2 people involved, and there's $1 million on the table, $1.2 million on the table. It's hard.
Well, it would make perfect sense if that.
No, it's 7 KK.
That's a walkie-talkie. He's got somebody helping him. But what doesn't make sense is that person around at the back door getting in that way. Again, our report was that there was signs of force. Ashley reported that there were signs of forced entry and that the back door was found wide open. But why wouldn't the Nancy Ring cameras or other cameras on her property show any images of someone in the backyard or the side yard on the night in question? Maybe.
Because they could have been broken weeks before, like Fitz says. I see it.
What's weird is that was making sense, but then her follow-up sentences doesn't have anything to do with it. When I was doing my walk today, I was listening to this. Here, look at it. It's
Ashley reported that there were signs of forced entry and that the back door was found wide open. But why wouldn't the Nancy Ring cameras or other cameras on her property show any images of someone in the backyard or the side yard on the night in question? You know, maybe
Because they could have been broken weeks before, like Fitz says. That's
Okay, you mean the camera's broken?
I see it.
But they weren't broken. She hadn't paid her bill.
It all the time. My company, we do those video camera.
Yeah. See how this has nothing to do with that? Maybe they broke it week earlier, and that's like, okay, let's see. Okay, what do you got on that? That sounds kind of interesting. If you could explain that a little bit more, like maybe they went there and broke it. Maybe like the floodlights, they went there 2 weeks before and broke them, and Nancy just wasn't aware because she doesn't really go out there at night, anyways.
Install systems, we design systems, all that kind of
Okay,
stuff.
all
You
right.
cannot believe how people have things hobbled together at their home and then they just stop working, or a
Right.
tree branch fell and that whole side of the
Wait, what
house
does that have to do with like weeks earlier somebody breaking it?
isn't working. It's oftentimes just a matter of that, or the system becomes inoperable because you added something else and accidentally disconnected these two cameras on the west side or something along those lines.
I just want to show the picture that we do have of whatever that device is, whether it's a Wi-Fi jammer or a walkie-talkie or something else. It's on the side. In the front, you see the gun, that black and white thing, and this is the gun in the front. But if you look on the side, we put a little circle around it. That's it. I don't know what that is. Why do we think it's a walkie-talkie, Maureen?
I think it's a walkie-talkie because
Because it fits my theory. I want there to be more than one person, so that's why it fits that. Yeah, I mean, right there, sure, could be. But that's the truth there.
that's the same type of antenna that you can get on a lot of these inexpensive walkie-talkies.
The guy did buy a lot of cheap stuff.
The antenna will never, you have to have giant pockets for you to be able to put the whole thing in there like that. It's certainly not a phone like a lot of people were saying, because the last thing you want is for your iPhone to be flopping out of your pockets and left at a crime scene. That's, that's a great way to get caught. But you can see it's one of those, now some of the jammers have a very similar antenna. But the jammers, in my opinion, have a couple of antennas, and they're not that strong. They usually wouldn't be able to go all the way to the neighbors unless it was a real.
Yeah, but even they say dumb stuff, Sandy. Stuff that doesn't make sense to the case. I guess it's not dumb. What it is here's what the reality is, you guys. These people, these talking heads that show up on the shows, they don't know the case very well. So they're asked to come on and be a talking head and just sort of ruminate about something. They don't know the little details. Like, they don't know the timeline and different elements that would refute something that they're going to say. So they come on and everybody goes, yeah, wow, that's so interesting. Ooh, wow. And the hosts don't know any better. They don't know any better at all. I mean, she's still talking about the fake information. I mean, listen. Megyn Kelly talks about in this show that the camera at the front door is what filmed at 212. The front door camera is the 212 motion picked up by a camera. And the reason she's saying that is because that's what TMZ irresponsibly put out when they were trying to sell the narrative of that one dude, 4 miles away with 2 backpacks, etc. They wanted to make it seem like, oh, yeah, this is the guy. And we were talking to somebody, and he said that, that the camera at the front door is at 212 because they needed it to fit. They needed it to be 212 at the door because I think that footage was like at 153 or some weird number like that. I don't remember what time it was, but it didn't work with the 147. So even the other co-host says to the jackass, whatever the hell is, I don't even give a shit what his name is. He says, hey, what about the 147? He goes, let's leave it out. That'll get too confusing for people. You mean it'll refute what you're going to say, right? So they left it out there, and then they sold a narrative that the camera at the front door filmed the suspect at 212, And everybody ran with it, and it hasn't recovered since then because of that. It's just garbage.
Really high quality one. Not so much military grade, but it would have to be
All right, guys, we need, I think, 10 more gifted channel memberships to reach the minimum goal. All together. And then I'll donate 5 myself if we get there. So that's mine, 10 to 5.
a pretty high quality one. Or you'd have to have another person standing over at the neighbors with their inexpensive jammer, which is just getting too complicated.
It's getting too complicated. Go ahead, Fitz.
Yeah, well, you make it complicated
2 things
sometimes yourself.
related to that last.
Maybe he died. Maybe the guy at the front door is dead now. Right, maybe aliens abducted him too. We haven't ruled that out yet either.
Picture you showed to us. It can't be ruled out that that device is not necessarily a
Thank you, Miss Kyla.
walkie-talkie, but a police scanner. And this person may have an interest in listening to the police, what they're doing. Doesn't mean he's doing it in real time as he's doing this, but it may have some kind of a headphone connection. And he can, when he gets back in the car, he can certainly follow if there's been a 911 call of any sort, suspicious. I can't rule out, and of course it is a walkie-talkie. There's at least another person involved, and that, you know, none of us ruled that out early on. There's cases of serial killers. One well-known case in Canada from like 30 years ago was a husband and wife, or at least a man and woman partner, and she would help him entice these young women to his van, and he would do his thing after that. And the other part is, just look at that picture. I happened to watch one of my favorite movies over the weekend.
Hey, look at that. Oh, he's about to mention Tombstone. You hear that? Phyllis, he's gonna mention he's gonna do the Tombstone thing here. Hey, we got a challenge by Marty. Look at that one, you guys. He's gonna send in 10 memberships worth of coffee if you guys do 10 memberships. How about we count Miss Kyla's as the first one there? All right, so that was number 1. So we need 9 more of those suckers, and there you go. Then we'll 8 more now. 8 more. All right.
Tombstone, and you look at the very end, the Doc Holliday confrontation with Johnny Ringo. That's how Doc Holliday held his gun, or the holster part of it was in front of his waist, not exactly in front of the groin like this guy here.
That's
but,
right.
but
I'm in
very
my
close.
prime.
And I already mentioned that. Is this guy a fan of the Zodiac Killer?
I love that scene where Johnny Ringo in the when they're playing poker and he's spinning the gun around and shit, and then Doc Holliday just grabs a tin cup and just totally just mocked the hell out of that guy and blew it away. That was so great.
The mask he choose to wear. I know your folks even found it in real time. They put that picture up of the Zodiac person. Now we have someone wearing a holster like Doc Holliday did in the movie portrayed by Val Kilmer.
Well,
You know,
and that movie
maybe
got a lot of play over the past year since Val Kilmer died. Even we watched it, and I'm not big on Westerns, but you know, that could have been in the consciousness of somebody for
That's a
good reason.
point.
All right, I want to keep going because there's a couple of other facts around the initial days that she was missing that we should get to in this episode.
Fred
And that
Meyer always
includes
gives you more ways to
the
save,
fact that
like
the
low
crime scene
prices
was
in
turned
every
over to the
aisle.
family
Plus, you
within
can
2 days of Nancy's disappearance. I mean, less than. She went missing.
All right, you guys.
As of
we're
Sunday
doing one of
morning, they
those
discovered it.
things again. We have
and
a
by
great
Monday
opportunity
evening,
here.
he had surrendered the crime scene back.
Got a great opportunity up here to help support the channel. We have Marty doing a 10 to 10, so we need 8 more gifted memberships. So if you're out there and you have the ability, that would be great. We need 10 gifted memberships, or 8. Now we need 7. 7 now, or it could just be a $5 super chat. It's the same. They're equivalent. All right.
Back to the family. I mean, it was very strange and it was very quick. And he said, the scene is done. We're done with the residents. If we need to go back.
There, look at that. That's that scene right there. Look at that. I'm your Huckleberry. Let me see. I just want to hear that.
I'm your Huckleberry.
Okay, that's such great footage too, right? He says it in the dark, and then it reveals his face right after he says that. Yeah.
We will, but we've turned it over to the family. And then on February 5th, fresh crime scene tape wrapped around the length of the house and was then promptly taken back down. Then on February 8th, The sheriff's office said it's going to keep a security presence at the home for security concerns. On February 25th, that was the day that they went back and they spent considerable time near the front door, appearing to focus on the porch and the walkway where the trail of blood was discovered. We believe that was the day the FBI went and took pictures.
Right in the front there.
But why, Fitz, would he turn the crime scene back over to the family
That's kinda
so
interesting,
early in
isn't it?
this? And then a related, I think, question is, why didn't this sheriff accept help from anyone in the searching? I have never covered a missing person case.
All right, guys, we need to get 7 more of those. We need to have a little bit more enthusiasm. All right? Been a long show here. We got to get to the goal. Thank you.
Where they don't have the citizen grid search. You know, they're all but holding hands, covering the acreage around where the person was last seen to make sure they didn't lose a phone, they didn't lose a sneaker, there isn't a strand of hair. He time and time again, he turned down those offers from reputable search groups with very successful track records, just saying it's going to interfere with law enforcement. So he turned the house back over immediately to the family, and he rejected outside help. Thoughts on those?
I think the second part of your question answers the first part. Clearly, the house was turned over too soon. And they could have had a full-time team in there of 25 evidence response team members, going through it. But even 48 hours, I think, would be too much, or too soon, I should say, to let it go. And the fact that he wasn't looking for assistance or at least additional help outside, at least not publicly, of which we are aware, that could explain why some of these hasty decisions were made in this regard. Any crime scene is a treasure trove of evidence, but you have to know how to look for it and find it. And of course, some scenes have more evidence than others, depending the sophistication level of the offender or offenders. But the scene was turned over too early. And I think, I'm not going to overtly criticize the sheriff here, but elected officials around for a long time. Just in the last week, some things came out from his past.
Yeah, made a lot of errors on this one,
El Paso
Daniel.
PD, some questions about some things back then.
I mean, she does, she's good at keeping the conversation going, but she puts a lot of stuff out there that just isn't true. And you even had the two people looking at each other like, I don't think that's correct, but they don't say anything.
I believe you can get an ego and you surround yourself with yes men and women, and this is how I'm going to run it. This is what I'm doing, and then all of a sudden it comes back to kick them in the rear end, and they realize then he had to retighten it again. But once you let a crime scene go to pizza delivery men, media people, otherwise, you're going to potentially lose some evidence there. There's never any mistake to be.
All right, guys, any chance we can get the other 7? Marty had a challenge up there. So for me to get the 10 coffees, we need to get the other 7 gifted channel memberships for him to match. So is there any chance we can get that done here tonight instead of having me stop and ask to try to get it done, because that seems what I'm relegated to do every single night. So we see what the challenge is. Let's see if we can do it. That would be great. And on a different note, what's weird is the last, I don't know, probably 3 weeks or so, I've been thinking about this other case that we did a long time ago. Super chat us your best. I'll match up to 20. Yeah, we already, I don't know what that means, Jim. I don't even know what that sentence means. We need 7 more gifted channel memberships, you guys. That's how we get to the goal tonight. And I've been thinking of this case it's one of our DNA cases from Vermont. It was from 1932. It was like a mother and their 2 kids were found shot to death, wrapped up in a awning. And we tried to do it, but it was so degraded. But I always think of that one. And it was so weird. I was thinking of it yesterday. And then Dr. Colleen Fitzpatrick called me up today and said, hey, you'll never guess. And my first thought was I just immediately thought that case right then. And then she said, yeah, hey, the Vermont case is they've responded to, one of the women in the office. I think Lisa's her name. They've been having communications, and they're going to give it another shot with this better form of enrichment. So that might be one that we get to have under our belt as a solved one. Wouldn't that be amazing? From 1934, it was never reported. They were never reported missing in the paper. So it's probably either the husband or maybe with some other kind of hit. All right, but anyways, we need 6 more, you guys, and that's the thing that the money, a lot of the money that we bring in. A lot of it helps support the channel, and a lot of it we send off to our DNA funds and all those kind of things. So if you guys have the ability to, we're just trying to reach the minimum goal here tonight, you guys. We need 6 more gifted channel memberships. All right, thank you.
Be made to hold a crime scene longer. So I think there's maybe some hubris on the part early on of the sheriff. And I'm not going to overly criticize him. I haven't really called him names or like some other people have, but I think bringing help in earlier on, and they would have then suggested, don't release the house yet. Give us time to go over it and give it a good week or 2. And maybe at that point, safely release it with all the evidence collected.
Thoughts on that, Maureen, on either one of those points?
Yeah. Having been on the evidence response team for decades, I can tell you that we would have secured the entire scene. We would have expanded the crime scene. We would have had the crime scene tape all the way around that house so that we could really thoroughly take our time and go through it with the primary scene, the secondary scene, which would be the exterior, the entryway, the porch, the yard. We would have taken that mat because he was standing on the mat, moving around on the mat. What was on the bottom of his shoes? Fibers from the interior of his vehicle, dirt from the yard where he keeps his boots or on his back porch, dog hair from his family pet. There are just so many things that can be on the treads of your shoes that mat would have just been very important to me. It would have also been important because there could have been
Thanks, Wild Bill Wassman.
Blood droppings on that mat as well. Also, with that bite light in his mouth had to be watering. I'm sure he got it on his gloves. You can see when you see that close-up photo of his face with the face mask on that it's slightly askewed, almost like he was wiping his nose or his mouth because that bite light was causing him to salivate.
Accurate.
That could have been, there could be saliva on that mat. I also would have really done a number on that door. A lot of police officers say they would have taken that front door. You can, if you take the door, you can just slow everything down, and you can have just like a when you're in the lab and you have.
All right, guys. I'm going to ask one last time. Can we try to get we just need 6 gifted channel memberships. To reach the minimum goal. Now we need 5. If we could please do that, that would be great. So we can continue moving. I mean, we had 2 really crappy days this month, so we've had no great days. So we're just trying to kind of slowly get back by just having average days those other 2 days. All right, we're way behind last month, which was only 28 days. All right. Thank you. Hey, there's Miss Kyla there, so we just need 5 more.
A big piece of evidence. You can stand around with a bunch of 10-pound brains and you could say, all right, we could do this, or should we start with that? Or what's our number one goal? Back in the day, it was, do we want DNA or do we want fingerprints? Well, now you can get both, but you have to be very, very careful in your approach and the way you develop that DNA. And
hey, Timothy, why'd you unhide that person? Get rid of that. Why would you unhide that person, Timothy? That was one of the worst pipes that show up here.
Take possession of that evidence for testing. So there were just a whole lot of things. The shoe or the vehicle impressions was the driveway. They may have been destroyed when the police vehicles pulled up in the driveway when they thought it was a walkaway, which is understandable. But there. It was just too soon, I think, and the Bureau would have just sent in, as Fitz was saying, and I said earlier, just teams of people. One team for the primary, one for the secondary, one for the tertiary, and a team to do the whole grid search.
No, that wasn't you.
Like we
Marty.
talked about.
I don't get it. Like I haven't solved a case as a member of law.
Oh, I thought that was Timothy Cecil. Sorry about that.
Enforcement, but I've covered.
I think Timothy's gone. Well, let's put it back out there. We got to let Marty get block one. Come on, put it back out there. Oh, you both did that. I see. I think you both, like you hit a button and accidentally reversed it. Yeah, so I think it was, no, because I think Timothy did too. I can see him up there. Who cares? At least you guys are on top of it. That's okay. That's okay. At least I know that you guys meant to remove them. So you guys are all on it, so good.
So many missing persons cases, and you just always see it. We're used to see it. It gives the family something to do, to be out there hand in hand with volunteers to look for any little clue. And there's so much area to cover. This is like a wide array of desert right around where Nancy lives. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I wanted to follow up on, this is the aerial view of Nancy's house. You can just see it's just huge. There's so many places to go. And since we don't have any clear evidence of the car driving away, the foot search seems pretty relevant. I want to go back to possible suspects. So we talked about how the sheriff said, you're not safe. I mean, like, for lack of a better term, he's now saying to the community, don't relax. Yeah, you're safe. Don't anybody you're not safe. Don't put your guard down. Like, oh, great, Sheriff, thanks a lot. So that would suggest, if he's sincere, that he's leaning more toward not a stalker and not a family member, like an actual burglar, abductor, intruder type. And there was a little bit more of that interview with the NBC News reporter, the local reporter, Liz Kreutz, along those lines. I want to show you the second shot we had cut here. Watch.
There is something that's come out in the investigation that gives you a sense of motive here and why this person did this?
I think it's come out from day one. I think from day one, we had some strong beliefs about what happened, and those beliefs haven't diminished.
Do you believe it was a burglary gone wrong?
I'm not going to get into those theories. We have our beliefs. Everybody else has theirs.
Nano says he's intentionally withholding their theory and other details in the case, citing the integrity of the investigation.
So he's saying something without saying something there, right, Maureen? Like, from day one, we had strong beliefs about what happened, and those beliefs haven't diminished.
Right. It sounds to me like it's the Corey Richins case all over again, or a number of other, just a myriad of other big cases where it takes a while to build this cage around this individual. And you can think someone's guilty all you want. A lot of people do think some people are guilty in this case, and other people suspect other people, but you have to be able to prove it in a court of law.
I don't think there's a case further away than this one than Corey Richins in terms of being similar. Hey, thanks, Phyllis Watson. 4 more. All right.
Law, you have to have it locked down with all kinds of evidence, and you have to really take a close look at the exculpatory evidence and make sure that is what it looks like and disprove it if need be.
Can I ask you about that? The Corey Richins thing, just for the listening audience in case they don't remember that case. We talked about it in Kelly's court last week, but she's the woman who is accused, she's on trial right now, of killing her husband with fentanyl in his Moscow Mule cocktail. She, a year later, published a children's book on grief, how to deal with grief of loss of a parent. Meanwhile, she's alleged to have killed her husband.
She did.
And she got arrested 3 days after the publication of her book and is now on trial for his murder. She says it was a suicide and that he was depressed. But all the while, they let her be free, and that whole year, clearly they were building a case against her. So when you say it's like the Corey Richins case, are you suggesting maybe the sheriff has, let's say, a family member or someone known to Nancy who they're building the cage around right now?
Yeah, yes, I think there's someone they think may have done something. Maybe it's a handyman, maybe it's a delivery man. I don't know who it is, but whoever they're thinking, I think they're building the cage right now. That's what I call it.
Well, that would explain his more confident statements, suggesting we think we know the motive, number one. And then in the follow-up saying from day one.
Well, I've been saying I think they're onto something now. And, there might just be sort of, they're just not saying anything and they're just waiting. I mean, that's what it just like remember how we've been bringing up the better example for her to have said would have been Koberger. Not that the cases are similar, but it's not been that long, but like 3 weeks in, everybody was like, oh man, these detectives, Moscow sucks. They don't even know what they're doing. All the while, they already had a name and were doing genealogy, did genealogy, had a name. And we're tracking him down to get his DNA, and then, boom, they already had something. And we didn't have any clue, except a couple times you could see a little smile on the police chief's face.
We had strong beliefs about what happened, and those beliefs have not diminished. So he's definitely got a theory of the crime, and he says it's only gotten stronger. It sounds like he's not... since learned that he was wrong about
Hey, thanks, Kami. Was that 3 more now? That'd be good. What in the heck?
his initial instincts, which again, I think we all believe were probably that she was murdered, just for one thing, because he did call it a crime scene, he called in homicide, and he called off the search for her within 24 hours. Even though he gave a lot of we have to believe she's still out there comments, his behavior was more telling in my view. So that leads me to who?
Well, some of that saying we still have hope, we hope she's out there, we really want to bring her home alive, please. Some of that is to try to get the offender to slip up and try to go for, the money, but that hasn't worked. Whoever this offender or these offenders are, they've just felt that going for the money is too dangerous. They can't do it. They cannot. They just can't do it without getting caught. That's their belief. That's what I think.
If that was ever their
exactly
goal,
right.
at least I would add here.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's exactly what we've been saying here. That they don't have her alive, and it's too risky now to try to get the money, because now it would be the death penalty.
Mm-hmm. Right. Now, that leads me to one of the people who we've discussed as, somebody they may be looking at.
Thank you, Kami.
And the whole question of the brother-in-law, again, do not mean to suggest the brother-in-law committed this crime, but he's one of the family members and he was the last one to see her, so he's fair game to discuss. I told the audience last week, my own information is that Savannah Guthrie is very angry people are discussing the brother-in-law or anyone in her family. She clearly believes her family are all innocent victims.
Right, but they were talking about her because that's at the time, and even she knows that, Savannah knows that at the beginning they were looking into them, for sure. I mean, there's no doubt about it. They have the car for a reason.
And had nothing to do with her mother's abduction. For what it's worth, on the one hand, you would expect her to defend her family. On the other hand, she does know them and we don't. So it does count for something.
Yes.
Having said that, the sheriff's messaging around the brother-in-law has been yet another thing that's been very confused and ever-changing. And did the family...
I don't know whether or not... I don't understand that part where he doesn't... I mean, I wonder if it almost feels like they knew right away she wasn't in the area after that night. I mean, generally that's the truth, right? Like you get abducted, you're not a block away from your house, but that sort of is in conflict with the fact that they were flying the helicopter with the Bluetooth sniffer right in the neighborhood there. Why? I mean, why were they doing that? It's crazy. I mean,
family no favors, let's face it. He started off to the New York Times on February 4th. As a reminder, Nancy was taken overnight, January 31st into February 1st. By February 4th, he was telling the New York Times, Miss Guthrie was taken sometime between 9:45 p.m. on Saturday and Sunday morning. She had dinner with her daughter Annie and her son-in-law Tommaso. And the son-in-law, Tommaso Cioni, dropped her off and ensured she made it inside safely before leaving, the sheriff added. So he specifically told the New York Times that it was Tommaso who dropped Nancy off at home. In other words, the last person to see her other than the abductor. Then, the next day, on February 5th, he said the following about who dropped her off.
You know, there's also conflicting reports about who was the last person to actually see Nancy and drive her home. We know she took an Uber to Annie's house, but can you confirm whether it was Annie or her son-in-law Tommaso who took her home that night?
I think the timeline that the sheriff provided was a family member, but
Just family. We're going to go with family.
Right, but he already had said before it was Tommaso.
We're going to go with. Which is just so ridiculous. Like, you just told us that it was Tommaso.
Right.
You know, I mean, that was
Well,
just
it was also
absolute-
a prompt, though, Megan, from the FBI, prompted him to say family member. We're going to go with family member, you know?
Right. Like, you should have done that the first time, and you didn't.
Right, that's what makes him seem like he's not really... It's a little bit too much for him, this whole thing. But it was over his ability. But I do think there's been overkill by the media on him. Like, just absolutely, you know, you run out of material, so then you go after the sheriff over and over and over and over and over again. And I understand not liking him and not thinking he's very good, but I mean, even in this podcast here at the very beginning, they misrepresented what he said. He didn't really change anything. He originally said that when he was asked, should you be scared, should people in the public be scared or, you know, vigilant, he said, you know, I really don't know, you know, the answer to that because we haven't caught the guy, but, you know, he said he wasn't sure. And then later he said, yes, I think people, he goes, yeah, be vigilant, you know, absolutely be concerned that there's somebody out there. Well, it's, you know, one of them he's not as sure as the other one. It's not like he reversed himself, though, like people try to make it sound like.
And the messaging in general around the family has been all over the board. I mean, he wants us to not suspect the family, but he doesn't actually have any real reason to tell us not to suspect them. We just came up with this. So Tuesday, February 3rd, was when Ashley Banfield reported that a law enforcement source told her the brother-in-law may be the prime suspect. Then the car of Annie and Tommaso got towed and impounded and is in evidence as of that same date, Tuesday, February 3rd. February 5th, Sheriff Nanos, we've not identified a suspect or a person of interest. Nobody's been eliminated. Everyone's still a suspect. February 7th, they were inside Annie Guthrie's Arizona home for hours. The law enforcement officers were taking photographs of multiple rooms until about 10:30 p.m. local time. February 16th, Sheriff Nanos to a local Tucson affiliate. Not one single person in the family is a suspect. They've been ruled out as suspects since the first few days of the investigation. I am saying they are clear. We have cleared them. He said, to be clear, to the Guthrie family, to include all siblings and spouses, has been cleared as possible suspects in the case. The next day, February 17th, at this point, the Guthrie family, including siblings and spouses, has not been identified as suspects. They have not. So he's walking back. They're cleared to, well, they haven't been identified as suspects. So, I mean, he's just, I mean, I can't, like, it's annoying me yet again, Fitz, because he caused this. I'm sorry, but he helped cause this.
Well, I think we can safely say he is consistent in his inconsistencies, and certainly when it comes to the family itself. And I hate, you know, this, ruling out of family members or other people early on. And I can only envision a prosecutor someday getting this case if it so happens it is somebody who was cleared in a case. I'll just keep it generic here. And they have to know, and they have to bring charges against that person and put them before a jury when a sheriff or some other DA or whomever said, no, they've been cleared all along. You never clear anybody. And there's other cases I've been directly involved in. I've even been sued over in which family members were automatically ruled out by the DA. So no one can be here. I still say one of the strongest family members, I hope they've interviewed and re-interviewed this person, was the child of Annie and Tommaso. I think there's only one, maybe there's another one, I'm not sure. But I think that person separately
We
interviewed.
figured out that he's about 20. Deb will double check me on that. I think, yes, keep going.
And
I've heard 20 and I've heard 11. So.
Oh, no. Sorry. No, she said it's his son who's 8. A son who's 8.
Okay.
Thanks, Wild Bill Lossman.
Okay, now 8. Okay.
I believe that
We're going to double
person
check.
could be a wealth of information, regardless of the age. And I believe they were in the house that
Thank you, Phyllis Watson.
night when Nancy came over for dinner to Annie and Tommaso's house. And again, I'm not, careful here not to cast aspersions, but that person is sort of almost a neutral arbiter, wouldn't have enough sense at a relatively early age to know how to cover things up, if in fact there is any sort of a cover up. And and there's experts out
Are they talking about the children right now?
there, and I've known a few of them over the years with the FBI. They're
I mean, that is something, that's an angle that I've mentioned in here before. Like maybe a family, another member of the family that had access to the same vehicle. Do you guys remember me saying that? Oh, sorry. I missed there I am. Oh, there I am right there. Right. I do. Hey, look it. Ha! Boom! Yeah, it's that looks pretty green, doesn't it? Kind of a bluish green.
full-time expertise is in fact interviewing young children, 3, 4, 5, even younger sometimes.
That's the Abby and
but certainly
Libby
an
one.
8-year-old has their will and their wits about them. So so no one can be ruled out. Why the sheriff insisted on doing that? It may have been pressure from the Guthrie family to do so. All
Yes,
these,
for sure there was.
Accusations and intimations, whatever. Sheriff, you got to get out there and say something. Well, I really can't. And back and forth, and something was negotiated, and he went out and said that. Then kind of came back a little bit the next day. I can't figure
Well,
that
is
out
it-
either. I don't know. Is he
does it
Clouseau
tell
or is
us
he
anything?
Columbo? I'm
Drinking,
not sure.
Yeah. Does it tell us anything, Maureen, that he's
It's good
telling
stuff.
the NBC affiliate, I've had my theory from day one, and I haven't moved off of
No,
it.
we're
I've only
still
had
one away.
more reason to believe my theory. And since day one, day 17,
No, we're still one away. Marty. That looks like Timothy Cecil did it.
he was saying they're
All
cleared.
right,
They've all
there
been
you go.
cleared. I mean, he did reverse it.
Thank you.
He dialed it back a little by saying, well, none of them has been identified as a suspect. But does it tell us potentially that he doesn't believe the family had anything to do with it when he's saying, today, I've had the same theory since the beginning. My theory's only gotten stronger. And in that time, he did come out to say all of the family have been cleared.
I wonder he's got to think it's an abduction. I think the one that makes the most sense that I've said a million times is an abduction for ransom that went wrong. That makes the most sense. The next one would be something like, I think the least likely one is a robbery gone wrong. That just seems ludicrous to take a person out of the home at that point, unless she knew him, and then you're getting complicated and have to come up with things. And then the other one would be like it's the obsession angle where they're trying to really hurt Savannah because that lady's famous, and Savannah's famous, and that means they're getting to her through the mom, something like that. But the abduction gone wrong is the one that's the most likely. But then the thing that reverses you out of that one is. And by the way, thanks everybody for helping reach the minimum goal there. Appreciate it. The thing that reverses that out is where you say, then why did he send a ransom note to? Because for us to believe that, we have to realize that, believe that the first 2 ransom notes that the FBI thought were real, But why did he send one of the copies to TMZ? What's the point of that? It seems like that one, you're trying to, it's almost like the serial killers, like Zodiac, sending in a letter so everybody talks about it. There's no point to it. And so, I guess that's where it sort of reverses that out. There's always something. In this case, every single element, every single thing that you could talk about always has something that is contradictory, where you never just get to go, yeah. But that isn't severe enough, that one, for me not to, maybe he thought if you sent it there, I don't know. I mean, it seems weird because you're sending it to newspapers. He knew TMZ would actually talk about it. But why did you need that to happen when the newspapers obviously were going to give it to the right people? So I really, it's sort of interesting why you would do that. And so, but that's us believing that those are real. Now, if those aren't real, it could still just be a abduction for ransom that went wrong, and they've never communicated with the family, and they're just like, man, she didn't make it. We're just boom, washing our hands of this, getting the hell out of Dodge and put her somewhere. So that's still out there too. Hey, how about we go over that Vermont one right after this? I found the folder. You want to do that?
Yes, I mean, if you believe he's not going to change his mind again, this is why I'm a logic-driven thinker, and when things go wonky and back,
we'll have to do that other missing person. We don't have enough time to do that one. I'll do that one tomorrow.
And forth like this, I have a very difficult time with it. He's a law enforcement official. His PIO should be handling this. It should be a clear and concise message every single time. And that's never what we've received. And the other thing you should be doing with your PIO or your messaging in general is to assuage any of the fears that your constituents or the citizens of your AOR have. And that's not happening either. So I just don't know what to think with this person. But I agree. It sounds like whatever his opinion was at the beginning, it's just gotten stronger. But that's in complete contrast to other things that we've heard.
Yes, like
So your guess
like
is
him
as good as
saying at the
mine.
beginning, there's no threat. Don't worry. We believe this was targeted. That's what he said in the beginning. And now today, you should be afraid. You're
Batten
not
down the
safe.
hatches. Yeah. Everybody get guns,
I so agree with you though, Maureen. This is one of the things I love.
You want me to do go over that Vermont one after this? The one that it's being reactivated. 1935, man.
Love about you is that I too am a very logical thinker. Like my logical reasoning is probably my strongest communication skill, and I love it to be linear, a thread that I can follow, that takes me someplace or doesn't, in a sort of a logical fashion. But this guy is it's almost like ADD on steroids. He's like all over the place. He says something, then he reverses it, then he dials it back a little, then he contradicts that, then he does something that undermines all of it. And in the end, I have no idea about anything, which is why we finished this whole hour plus today. We don't actually have a leading theory right now amongst us on whether
it's just a missing person case in the UK.
It was an intruder, it was a real kidnapper, it was a family member, or
it's on the title of the video and also on the thumbnail,
or it was some random, passerby or like thief who went in there, or never mind, Mexican drug cartel. It's like we all have like a general hey, if you just want to ask me over a cocktail what I think happened, I'll tell you. But you can't really build the case for anything right now because nothing real has been shared by this guy.
No, but I'm taking great solace.
I mean, nothing real. He gave out the timeline, and you don't know what's real. Yeah, I mean, nobody knows what's real. So to say the sheriff hasn't put out anything real,
solace in the fact that the investigators are outstanding. They're working together. They're just doing, the trial is going to be epic.
See how it's too overkill on the sheriff? I almost want to like switch and defend the guy. I'm just kind of sick of it, you know?
This person's going to get caught. I'm not sure if we're ever going to get Nancy back. I have to tell you, I'm losing faith on that, and that absolutely breaks my heart. But this person is going to get caught. They are going to get charged, and the trial is going to be epic. And we're going to see that this person that thinks they're so smart really wasn't that smart, just like all the others. And they're going to get taken down.
Does it?
Mm-hmm. My team is not. They're trying to figure out how old Annie and Tommaso's son is, and it's unclear. But we think he was around 7.5 in December of 2020. So if that's true,
thanks, K-Me.
Here we are, 6 years after that, and he'd be around 13 or early teens. But we don't know for sure. We're just looking at pictures, and he appears to be a little older than Savannah's daughter, who's 11. So that would track maybe early teens. In any event, that just to answer our question from before.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's right.
So,
I forgot he
but
was
to
in
your
that
point,
photo.
Fitz, of an age where you would be more than capable of speaking to what you had seen and witnessed with your grandma in your house that last night, and any other details. And maybe they did speak to him, and maybe that's why the cops were back there photographing the inside of that house at 10:30 at night, as Maureen pointed out when we talked about it, the very same time that Nancy would have been.
I mean, they were probably trying to clear the family members
inside the home, just before she went missing. All right, so to sum up, we know very little. I did think the walkie-talkie piece of this was very interesting, that if that was a walkie-talkie, he has an accomplice. And I do think the blood information is new too.
Isn't it weird, you guys? Like when you listen to these guys, is it way different? And then, I mean, the only part that's different is we're more accurate. But it's the same kind of conversation, right? Just working through all the different elements and trying to put the pieces together using, hold on. Thank you for watching Gray Hughes Investigates on YouTube, where we use logic, reason, and common sense to work through true crime cases. Thank you for watching. Yep, there you go. There you go. Yeah, I don't know who thought she left herself. I don't know why anybody would ever even have that thought. It just seems so ludicrous. You know, she leaves her home without anything and just kind of stumbles out the door and walks off into that good night. And then there's a picture of a guy and a camera. She just snuck in between. That guy's there, but then she snuck out, and then... Yeah, I don't know. That took him a while to get that video, though, I guess. That probably cinched it that there wasn't her walking away at any point once they got that video. No, Karen, I don't really know who that is, nor do I care. Sounds good. That's was he a bad person, Karen? Must have been. That is good. A&W. Yeah. That was overall, interesting interview. It's just there's portions though that aren't true and then lead to a lot of discussion, And it's like ancient aliens, right? Well, is it possible the guy at the front door is dead? And if he's dead, there could just be one single guy out there. And if that's true, where did he bury the body of the first guy? And then where is he right now? I mean, if he's the only one, it's also possible that nobody even knows who this guy is. Now, if that's true too, does he have a girlfriend that maybe, just goes on and on and on? But the original premise was already so unlikely, All right, here we go. I'm going to switch over. I know it's in there somewhere. Not sure what I called it. I know it's way up here, though. Yeah, up here. I don't know, maybe we'll be able to figure it out a different way here in a second. All right, here we go. This is the case that is still out there. Why do we have this one? What's this one? Oh. Okay, I've got to renumber something here. $1935. Oh yeah, so this is the actual case right here. See that? Date of discovery, May 15th, 1935. Middlebury. Maybe if I type that in, Middlebury. Is that it? Addison County, there it is. I found it. Yes, sir. I've got it. Yeah, all right. So here we go. Might be right back over here. Don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure I got the right spot. Okay, we'll do that one last. So here's the newspapers. Oh wow, look at that. Man, I don't even remember these. That's crazy. So this is where scenes and principal discovery of skeleton mystery. Isn't that crazy, the pictures they have from back then? All right, I gotta go back. Wow. All right. So where's the first part of it? You ever look at the newspapers back in the day? It would take you a month to read each day. I mean, look at this stuff. It's ridiculous. Look, it's so dense. It's just, it'd take me like 4 hours to read this page. Gosh, Gray, I could read in a couple minutes. I'm a speed reader. Good for you. All right. All right, let's. Skeletons. Okay. This is it right here. May 17th. There were rapid developments yesterday in the investigation of the triple murder mystery involving the 3 skeletons found beside a lonely East Middlebury Wood Road Wednesday. It was determined by Dr. F.S. Kent, the assistant state pathologist, that the victims were a mother and her 2 children. I think that turned out to be true. The mother was said to be between 35 and 40 years old. One of the children is believed to be between 14 and 17 years old. This person in life was a blonde and is believed to have been a girl. I think it turns out that's a boy, that one. The second child is definitely known to have been a boy, about 10 years old. Orthodontia work on the other child's teeth is expected to eventually furnish a means for identifying the 3 victims because of the highly specialized type of work done and the relatively small number of experts in the country who do such work. State's Attorney John T. Conley of Middlebury, who is directing the investigation of the mystery, believes that a solution of the terrible crime was definitely brought within the sphere of possibility by today's developments, where last night the available clues held out little hope for identification of the three victims. Tonight, the possibility for identification seems almost a certainty. Well, that didn't happen. With the identification of the skeletons as a mother and her children, and the revelation that the dental work, I don't know how they could definitely know that back then, there was no DNA or anything. This should put you right to sleep, Karen. The dental work on one of the victims' teeth was a specialized and expensive project. The theory immediately developed in the middle of the investigation officers that a wealthy man had murdered his wife and two. Yeah, that's exactly what it seems like, because nobody reported them missing. Let's see. Children at his home at some summer resort. I don't know, man. I have to go back to the first one again. Does it continue on the side over here? A wealthy man had murdered his wife and two, oh, that's right, children at his home at summer resort in this section of, let me zoom in this section of the country, and taken the bodies to the wooded grave in East Middlebury after stripping them of all obvious means of identification. Suggested locales for the crime included the stylish Manchester summer settlement and the resorts of Saratoga Springs. So guys, apparently the dental work is incredibly expensive at the time. With the theoretical placing of the scene of the murder at a northern New York summer resort came the suggestion that the dental work on the older child had been done in the New York City or some other large eastern center, so it will be in that direction that the first attempts to find the dentist, they're looking for the dentist who did the work on the child's teeth, will be directed, almost with decision that the victims were a mother and her two children. Communications were sent immediately to various missing person bureaus for information related to missing groups of this description. Great importance is placed upon the nature of the dental work on the older child's teeth. This source is expected to furnish a real workable clue by which to quickly follow the trail of the crime. State's Attorney John T. Conley said tonight he had learned of but two men in Vermont who were capable of doing such dental work. They are Dr. William R. Pond, I mean, there's no way they'd put that in the paper today, of Rutland, and Dr. C.S. Taggart of Burlington. Dr. Taggart is understood to have made an examination of the teeth and the dental work, and given the opinion that the work was done by an expert. What's the date on this? May 18th. Let's see, marked resemblance, expensive treatment, marked resemblance. All three together have a marked resemblance in that they had triangular shaped faces. Narrow at the top, widening out below with receding chins. At a guess, all were of medium to light weight and possibly of pale, anemic type. Most likely they were in life persons of means because of the high class of dental work found in the skull of the person believed to be from 14 to 17 years of age. This type of work, which is very expert, was probably done outside the state. The investigators' theory that the victims were murdered at a summer camp is further strengthened by the finding of scraps of awning material, which the bodies appear to have been wrapped, small pulley blocks, and bits of rope such as are used in the operation of porch awnings were also found. Feathers, apparently from a small porch pillow, were found beneath one of the skulls. The absence of buckles, buttons, jewelry, and other articles convinces the officers that the slayers stripped the victims to conceal their identity, like they were nude. Investigating authorities were not nearer tonight in their attempt to fix the time of the crime than they were last night. However, they are of the opinion that the tragedy took place at least 3 years ago, so 1932. They base this opinion, they base this upon the state of disintegration of the materials used to wrap the 3 bodies, also upon the statements of Edward Munson, East Middlebury native, and his sister-in-law, Miss Joseph Munson, that there was an offensive odor in the vicinity in the fall of 1932. So the guy actually remembered that there was a foul odor in that vicinity in 1932. What are we doing? Boom. The most macabre of Vermont crime cases opened Wednesday afternoon when Mrs. Mary Dog of East Middlebury and her daughter, by a previous marriage, Miss Inez Perry, 18, discovered first one skull, then 2 others, beside a little used wood road along which they were returning from a May flowering excursion into the foothills. The discovery was made known to Sheriff Ralph Sweet, who called Dr. L.S. Walker of Middlebury, and State Attorney John T. Conley. Investigation revealed 3 complete skeletons, 2 reclining lengthwise with the road, and the other crosswise of the first 2. And then State Detectives Olmo B. Franzoni of Rutland joined the case early Thursday morning and assisted in the collection. They were interviewing different people. All right. I'm going to move on to the next page. Man, that's just dense. Hopefully this next one isn't quite as... Let's see, is that the same one? Yeah, it's kind of same date, similar. Let's see if this one's different. Skeleton, look at that. I mean, they actually have the teeth on there. Do you think they would ever do that today? That's why I love these old ones, man. Look at that. They freaking have the dental work on the, like, in the photo on the screen. Oh my God, you guys are so disinterested. It's just... Skeleton found in Middlebury, those of women and 2 children. On these well-preserved upper jaw teeth of the older child, thought to be a child of 14 years, may hang identification of the woman whose children were skeletons were discovered near Middlebury. The photograph showing the expensive gold brace was made at the Mary Fletcher Hospital yesterday from the skull of one of the 3 slain persons. Bony remains now under examination here. Hello? Are you guys even paying attention? I'll do this another time. You know, whenever there's, like, nobody's commenting on the actual show, then it's like, okay, we'll do it a different... Maybe we'll just make a video on it. Screw it. Alright. So, anyways, thanks everybody for being here tonight. We've got the, we got Cheryl Bullock, Wild Bill Wassman, Allie Cake, and then Wild Bill Wassman, then Whiskey Boots, April Star 7219, Wild Bill Wassman. Yeah, I just hate just rambling on for hours and people are, it's not worth, I can do other things. I can go to sleep even. It's just not fun. All right, so then we had Wild Bill Wassman, then Phyllis Watson, then Allie Cake, then Vicky White, then Phyllis Watson again, and Phyllis Watson again. Then Demon Angel Tag. Then we had Saturn Dreaming of Mercury, gifted 5. Then Demon Angel Tag. Then Saturn Dreaming of Mercury, gifted 5 again. Thank you. Then Allie Cake, gifted 1. Then Phyllis Watson, gifted 5. I think there was some challenges in there. And then we have Demon Angel Tag. And then Demon Angel Tag again. Then Karen W. Then Wild Bill Wassman. Wild Bill Wassman. Saturn Dreaming of Mercury. I don't know where there it is.
Hey, Allah, hey, Allah,
and then Phyllis Watson, Allie Cake, Michelle H., Sandy Shirley, and Timothy Cecil, Phyllis Watson again. Hey, thank you so much. I'm your Huckleberry. Let's see. I'm your Huckleberry. I don't know if that was any good. I know, isn't that crazy? Anyways, it just, they're kind of long articles, and I don't want to just keep going on and on and on. Didn't seem like it was that interesting. We already had gotten down to kind of a smaller number. And Miss Kyla, Phyllis Watson, Daniel Gosen, Wild Bill Wassman, Miss Kyla, Jim Lawn, and Phyllis Watson, Kami, and thanks again, Phyllis. And also Wild Bill Wassman, who's always, a lull buster. Phyllis Watson, Timothy Cecil, then I gifted 5, then Jim Lawn, Kami, Jim Lawn, and then we had Marty's Bar and Grill. All right, he did a couple buckets of coffee in there. What was the one? There was one that is kind of short. Maybe you guys would be. Where is it? I don't know. It's this one, and they just solved in Australia. I don't know if I want to go over the whole thing, but this is one that Raven sent. They kind of tricked the guy into confessing, though, by, it was man accused of killing Canberra grandmother Irma Palisic went there for money, not murder, jury hears. A jury had heard one of 2 men accused of Canberra woman Irma Palisic probably, murder, told uncover officers he was involved in the burglary where she died. A secret recording of one of the men accused of the cold case murder of Canberra woman Irma, just say Irma, has revealed he told an undercover officer he heard her asking not to be hurt during a violent home invasion in 1999. Details of the 2023 undercover police operation have been revealed to the jury in the trial of Melbourne men Steve Fabrici and Joseph Vecconi. The operation took months, culminating in the conversation between Steve and the other undercover officer known, dubbed Danny, at Melbourne Crown Casino. Oh, I didn't know you were even here. The Irma's home was ransacked during the burglary, and $30,000 in cash and jewelry was taken. Somebody must have known that she had that. That's a lot of money in 1999, too. after the couple was beaten, bound, and gagged, leaving Irma dead and her husband Gregory injured. The undercover officer told the ACT Supreme Court he posed as the head of a fictitious, so this is how they trapped him. The undercover officer told the Supreme Court he posed as the head of a fictitious crime syndicate which employed Mr. Fabrizi for jobs, although prosecutors said no actual crimes were committed. In the covert recordings, Mr. Fabrizi was shocked when he was told a police contact had informed Danny that his DNA was found at a cold case murder scene in Canberra. A murder scene? You're shitting me, Mr. Fabrizi said. Danny tells Mr. Fabrizi he wanted to know the truth. So he's like, I was told this secret information. I want to know the truth from you, though, buddy. And it says, I need you to be honest with me, Danny. I need you to be honest with me, Danny said. I think Danny was the undercover officer, right? I don't know if it says that right here. And then at first, Mr. Fabrizi denies ever going to Canberra, saying he thinks someone is trying to stitch him up, probably set him up. He is heard saying some clothes, fishing gear, and water bottle were stolen from his house, and that could be how someone got his DNA. Danny says he doesn't care what Mr. Fabrizi has done, but needs to know the truth. I can't effing stop what's going to happen to you unless I know, Danny said. So now Fabrizi might be thinking Danny's going to help. Mr. Fabrizi denies ever killing anyone, but the undercover agent continues to press him, saying, I need to know why this DNA is at the location. Eventually, Mr. Fabrizi admits going to Canberra to commit the burglary with Mr. Vicconi. He has already pleaded guilty to burglary charge, although he is fighting other charges, including murder. Mr. Fabrizi told the undercover officer Mr. Vicconi told him he thought there would be 50 or 100,000 in the house. He said when he was there, his job was to be outside to see if anyone was coming. During the recording, he said he had heard the struggle inside. Mr. Fabrizi admitted in the end he did go into the house, but only to help Mr. Vicconi escape through a bathroom window after he hurt his knee. At one point, the undercover officer mentions the reward of $500,000 being offered for information about the murder. What you going to do? I don't know what that's saying. What you going to dob me in? $500,000 is $500,000, Mr. Fabrizi said. The officer batted away the question, saying, don't insult me. On Mr. Fabrizi's account, what he's saying, thinks that the undercover guy is going to rat him out for the $500,000 if he tells him the truth. The officer batted away the question, saying, don't insult me. On Mr. Fabrizi's account, the pair had traveled to Canberra in Mr. Vicconi's car. He said they did not stay anywhere, but drove straight back to Melbourne. Mr. Fabrizi said he never knew Mrs. Or I guess her name is, what was it, Irma again? Irma. They didn't know Irma. At one point, the undercover officer mentions a reward. I think we were already there. The pair had traveled to Canberra. He said they did not stay anywhere, but drove straight back to Melbourne. Miss Fabrizi said he never knew Irma had died during the home invasion. He also said he was paid $12,000. And notice how they didn't take her out of the house either. Weeks after the covert recording, Mr. Fabrizi was charged and remanded in Canberra's jail. During an interview with police at the jail, he was informed that his former crime boss, Danny, was an undercover officer and that his DNA had been found in the kitchen of the house where he said he had never been. This is a shame, what I did. I should not have gone with him. I didn't know the lady died, Mr. Fabrizi said. But the police suggested to him that the evidence says he was involved. I have nothing to do with her assault or murder. I didn't touch her at all. This is the whole truth and nothing but the truth, he said. Well, it's kind of a... It seems like a sort of like a technique that we use over here. But I guess apparently it's not legal, and that's what... Or, you know, probably frowned upon. I don't know why it would be illegal. Doesn't make any sense why that would be illegal. It's not even entrapment. You're just, you know, kind of convincing the person. All right, well, that got us to almost 3 hours, 2:55. But anyways, thanks everybody for helping me reach the goal tonight. Still moving forward. We've already given, I think, all the money at the end of the month I'm going to put into the DNA. There's 3 cases that we've been waiting on that are now moving forward. The Torso case out of Indiana. Party Girl, and the Vermont one that you're looking at the screen right here. I think that road was like right here, right in that spot. There's no street view there though, so you can't tell. But all right, you guys, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. We will see you tomorrow. Who knows what tomorrow will bring? All right, thanks for watching. And thanks for all of your generosity. Just remember, nobody's required to help at all. I just try to get people to help support the channel. If you can, you can. If you can't, you can't. And maybe some nights I get frustrated because I'm not doing anything differently. And you know, it's weird how it varies so dramatically sometimes without really doing anything differently. But anyways, we'll see you guys tomorrow. And as I always say, until next time, be safe out there.
Yeah, I've been doing this true crime
thing. Thanks again, Phyllis.
Now. And during this whole time, I have not seen one person.
And Marty.
That is a crime dissector, flag rejector. I'm a certified human lie detector. Gonna get ya,
Wild Bill Wasson.
If you try and play me like an old projector. Crime sector.
Everybody,
Here's
really.
my nectar. Professor Grego's gonna give another lecture.
Crime collector, freak connector, and I'm always gonna be a puppet detector.
Deflector,
interceptor. Call me another spectre with a vector.
On his
Spectre,
with all respect,
just remember, injection. I have no agenda, I'm a pretender. Now somebody is straight without the blender. And in the end, I'm gonna send ya
on a mission to reveal the true offender. Yeah, so I'll just get right back to work. All right, everybody?
Yes, everybody, like I said earlier, thank you for watching.
Would you shut the hell up? This is what I'm supposed to say this part. Thank you for watching Gray Hughes Investigates on YouTube, where we cover true crime using logic, reason, common sense, and something called facts that a lot of YouTubers don't ever use at all. Thank you very much for watching. And as I always say, until next time, be safe out there. It is Lori Daybell. That's exactly right. I try to make it look just like her with the lipstick and everything. You got it. You nailed it. You nailed it. All right. Good night, freaks. It's too late for me, though, or I would have one of those red breasts there. Marty's Bar and Grill. All right. See you guys.